We're leaving this house. Huh? I didn't understand what he meant. We're giving the house to Matt. What? What are you talking about? You can't make decisions like that on your own. Shut up, you don't get to talk back to me. We're giving the house to my brother. If you don't agree, we're getting a divorce. At that moment, all the feelings I had left for my husband completely vanished. Fine, let's get a divorce then. My name is Sarah, and I'm 32 years old. I've been married to my husband, Tom, for 4 years. We wanted kids, but it never worked out, so it's just been the two of us. At one point, we thought about getting fertility treatments, but Tom said it would be fine if it was just us. I was so happy when he said that. I thought I could be happy spending the rest of my life with just him. But lately, things have been tough, and I can't say our life is happy anymore. Tom's parents both passed away recently. His dad died from cancer, and his mom, who was already sick, got worse and died shortly after. We've been busy dealing with the funerals and sorting out their property, so we haven't had much time to relax together as a couple. On top of that, Tom always thought the husband should be in charge. He's been strict with me sometimes, and he'd make me look bad in front of others, trying to appear humble. As his wife and part of his family, I understood where he was coming from, but lately, it's gotten worse. He treats me like I'm a bad wife. If I make even the smallest mistake with housework, he scolds me like I've done something terrible. Before we got married, we worked together, and he was my boss. Because of that, I think Tom still sees me as someone who works for him, even in our marriage, but that's not how I want our marriage to be. I just want him to treat me better as his wife. Not everything about him is bad, though. When we worked together, he gave me important projects to help me grow, but he'd always be there to help if I needed it. He listened to my concerns and made me feel like I could rely on him. He'd always say, "You did a great job." When we finished a project, at work, he was so charming that I completely fell for him. The real reason I decided to marry Tom was because he was there for me when I lost my uncle, who I was very close to. We had been dating for a year and a half before we got married. I quit my job and now work part-time while also doing the housework. Tom has been really busy lately and comes home late. He does a lot of overtime, usually getting home around 9:30 p.m. He's a manager, so I understand why it's hard for him. "Hope you didn't have too rough of a day today," I say when he comes home. But he doesn't answer. "What's for dinner?" That's always the first thing he asks. "Oh, I made curry." He doesn't respond to that and just says, "Beer." As he sits down at the table, I pick up his suits off the floor and quickly grab him a beer. He likes it really cold, so I have to make sure it's been in the freezer for about 30 minutes before he gets home. If it's frozen, he gets mad, so I have to time it just right. I always feel nervous waiting for him to come home, but he doesn't seem to care about any of the little things I worry about. After dinner, he heads straight for the shower. I have to put his clean clothes and towels in the bathroom, then clear the dishes. I never know what might upset him. Today, he yelled, "Hey, why isn't there any chocolate mint ice cream?" "I'm sorry, they didn't have it at the nearby supermarket." He glared at me, went to the bedroom, and went to sleep. He's never been much of a talker, and we don't really have conversations anymore. I know he's probably tired from work, but we haven't really spoken in about 6 months. But I still have feelings for him. Like I said, he comforted me when I lost my uncle, and that's one reason I still trust him. When my parents divorced while I was in middle school, I lived with my mom, but when I was in high school, she got sick and passed away. After that, I lived with my uncle. He was like a father to me, and I loved him a lot. He paid for me to go to college, and when I started working, I would save money to take him to nice restaurants and buy him gifts. I was really happy living with him, and I'm so thankful for everything he did for me. My dad wasn't a good man, so to me, my uncle was more of a father. Sadly, my time with him didn't last. My uncle got cancer, the same kind my mom had, and passed away. I don't know if it's genetic, but it broke my heart to lose him so soon. He was all the family I had left, and I felt completely alone. There was so much I still wanted to do with him, like take him on a trip to thank him. For a while, I didn't even feel like eating. That's when Tom came over to comfort me. He asked me why I was so sad, and when I told him, he said, "That must be really tough for you. Thank you for working so hard during such a rough time." Tom had always been a strict boss, but I felt comforted by his warm and kind words. Because of this, I trusted him completely, even though he could be tough sometimes. I wanted to keep our relationship strong as a married couple. But everything was about to change because of a phone call from Tom's brother, Matt. "It's good to hear from you, Matt. What's going on? I need to tell you something. Is Tom there?" Matt didn't sound very cheerful, which made me worried. I handed the phone to Tom. Tom is very close to his brother and often talks about how proud he is of him. Matt graduated from an Ivy League school, works at a top company, and is a really great guy. I don't understand why Tom is so proud of him, but I can see why he feels that way. Tom seemed excited to hear from Matt. "Hey, Matt, thanks for calling. What's up?" Until then, Tom had been watching TV with no expression, but now he was smiling. Still, I could tell from Matt's tone that something was wrong. As Tom listened to the call, his smile disappeared and his voice sounded worried. "Are you okay? What happened?" Tom listened for a moment, then said, "I understand. Don't push yourself too hard, and remember, you can always rely on me." Before hanging up, "What's wrong?" "Matt got fired." "What?" I froze. I knew his company wasn't doing great, but I never expected they would fire Matt. Tom sat down on the couch and sighed. "I can't believe it either. Matt is kind, good at his job, and he respects me." Once, at a family gathering, he even told Tom off for saying too many good things about me. He apologized to me afterward. Matt got married last year, and his wife seems lovely. They look like a beautiful couple, and I imagined they would have a warm, caring family. So, I was shocked to hear that Matt was suddenly let go due to company downsizing. "I'm really worried. Is there anything we can do?" I asked, feeling concerned. But Tom's face turned serious, and he snapped. "Huh? What exactly do you think you can do? Don't even try to get involved. You'll just make things worse." I was shocked. I never expected him to say something like that. It was too much, and I couldn't hold back. "Make things worse? What do you mean by that?" Tom's anger grew even more. "This has nothing to do with you. Stay out of it. You're just a housewife. What do you even know?" "Nothing to do with me? We're family. I'm your wife." I couldn't believe he thought that way. After that, Tom became even more aggressive toward me. "I envy you as a housewife. You don't have any work stress, and all you do is housework. But you should care more about your clothes. Matt's wife always looks stylish. Stop wasting money on clothes and makeup," he'd also say. Which is it? Does he want me to look good or not? I was getting more and more exhausted from his attacks. I used to be able to handle it because I respected him, but lately, it's gotten worse. If I said something wrong, or even if I didn't say anything at all, he was always irritated with me. We don't make eye contact anymore. We don't speak to each other at all. I started wondering why I even stayed married to this man. Then one day, something happened. It was unusual for Tom to be up so early on his day off. I wondered if he had plans, but when I saw him packing boxes and throwing things into a garbage bag, I got curious. We hadn't had much to talk about lately, so I didn't ask what he was doing. But then, he noticed me watching him and said, "Hey, will you help me with this?" I was surprised he was speaking to me. "Are you cleaning your room?" I asked. But his answer was something I didn't expect. "We're leaving this house." Huh? I didn't understand what he meant. "We're giving this place to Matt." What? What are you talking about? You can't just make decisions like that on your own. You can't complain to me like that. This is too much. Don't think you can threaten me and make things go the way you want. Where are we going to live if we give the house to Matt? We'll figure it out. Have you talked to him about this? I will. Just as I thought. He hadn't actually talked to Matt or his wife about this. I couldn't believe he'd try to make such a big decision without even checking with them first. "Shut up. You have no right to talk back to me. We're giving this house to my brother. If you don't agree, we're getting a divorce." At that moment, all the feelings I had left for Tom disappeared. "Okay, then, let's get a divorce." Tom looked surprised for a moment, but then said, "Okay, I'm serious, you know," and walked out. He came back soon, shouting, "Here are the divorce papers. Let's do it now." He threw the papers at me, and I signed them without saying a word. "Okay, I'll submit them." I went out to file the papers. When I got home, Tom was still packing his things. "It's done. I've submitted the papers." "Okay, now you pack your things too." I replied calmly, "What are you talking about? I'm not leaving." Tom looked furious. "What? Stop messing around and pack your stuff. I said we're giving this place to Matt." He didn't seem to get it, so I explained quietly, This house is in my name. It was originally my uncle's. What? You didn't forget, did you? I owned this house before we even got married. Tom's face turned pale when he realized what I meant. How are you going to give the house to Matt? It belongs to me. You never paid any property tax, did you? You act like it's your house. Now that we're divorced, you're the only one living here, I said. It seemed like Tom finally understood the situation. Wait, Sarah, I'm sorry, please, can you calm down? Excuse me, I'm completely calm, thank you very much. You're the one who should be calming down. If you think you own this place, did you feel like you owned everything just because you could order me around? I was grateful to you, and I respected you. You were there for me when I lost my uncle, and I relied on you at work, but now, you're just a husband who harasses me. Have you ever treated me properly? No, you treated me like I was just a housekeeper, and I can't take it anymore. I never want to see you again. I'm not giving this house to anyone, and you're the one leaving. You've packed your bags, so get out of my house right now. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. Tom is in shock and collapses onto the floor. After that, he rents a storage unit for his things and stays at a business hotel. Not long after, I hear he rented an apartment and started living there like nothing had happened. Since I still have some friends from work, they all found out about his behavior toward me during our marriage. No one trusts him anymore. He's having a tough time at work too, and he's been moved to a department with hardly any important tasks. About a year after the divorce, I'm walking home from the store when I'm stopped by Tom. I try to ignore him, but he keeps following me, saying hey over and over. I finally turn to face him, scared, and say, please stop following me. What do you want? He says something I never expected. It's all your fault. Excuse me? How my parents died and how my brother got fired. I don't understand what you're talking about. You jinxed us. You're the one who made all these bad things happen to me and my family. That's ridiculous. I have nothing to do with that. It's been one disaster after another since I married you. If I hadn't, I'd still be living happily. Oh really? What about you getting a promotion while we were married? That happened because of our marriage, right? And what about Matt marrying that lovely woman? That was also while we were together. I stay calm and respond. Just because your life isn't going well doesn't mean you can blame it on me. If you keep following me, I'll call the police. Tom drops his head and walks away. I file a restraining order against him and decide to call Matt. Matt answers and immediately apologizes for his brother. He explains that after our divorce, he was upset with Tom for trying to give the house to him without asking. He says he's been keeping his distance from Tom, as he felt Tom would cause trouble again. I realize Tom is upset because his brother distanced himself from him. That's his problem, not mine. Although Matt lost his job, his skills and experience helped him land a job as a general manager at another company, where he earns a higher salary than before. Hearing this, I know I didn't cause any bad luck for Tom's family. When I tell Matt about the restraining order, he says, I have no problem with that. It's the right thing to do. Now Tom is completely on his own, and it's all his fault. This has taught me how important it is to be kind and thoughtful to others in any relationship. I'm going to keep this lesson in mind as I move forward, being considerate to everyone I meet. It's unbelievable that Tom thought he owned the house. The way he treated me was unacceptable. No matter how good he was at his job, it was definitely the right decision to divorce him. I hope I find someone better in the future. Thanks for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.
I stared at Ryan's phone, my fingers hovering over the screen like they belonged to someone else. The voice message played again, filling our kitchen with a woman's sultry laugh. Thanks for last night, baby. You're right, your wife has no idea how much of your success she's responsible for. But hey, that's what ghostwriters are for, right? My name is Quinn, and I just discovered my husband's dirty little secret. Well, secrets plural, if we're being precise. And I'm always precise, it's what makes me such a good writer. His writer. The invisible hand behind his bestsellers. The breakfast dishes sat unwashed in the sink while I replayed the message a third time, memorizing every inflection, every pause. 8 years of marriage, 6 best-selling novels, and 1 daughter, all of it suddenly felt like a carefully constructed lie. Mommy, can you help me with my science project? Emily's voice floated down from upstairs, innocent and sweet. Completely unaware that her world was about to implode. Just a minute, sweetheart. I kept my voice steady, though my hands shook as I forwarded the message to my own phone. Evidence. That's what Sarah would call it. My practical friend would tell me to document everything. The timestamp showed the message came in at 2:47 a.m. while I was putting the finishing touches on Ryan's latest manuscript. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd been polishing his prose while he was polishing other things. Ryan's phone buzzed with a text. Claire Bennett. Of course, the lifestyle influencer who'd been helping with book promotion. Her message popped up, delete my VM. And don't forget, dinner tonight. Tell Quinn you have a meeting with your publisher. I'd already memorized his passcode months ago. Not out of suspicion, but from the countless times I'd had to check his schedule while he was too busy writing to do it himself. Now I understood what kind of writing he'd been doing. Quinn? Ryan's voice boomed from the front door. Where are you? I placed his phone exactly where I'd found it, adjusting it to the precise angle. Kitchen. I called back, grabbing a sponge and turning on the tap. Water splashed over my trembling hands. He appeared in the doorway, all 6 feet of cultivated charm in his tailored blazer. Hey, beautiful. He kissed my cheek, and I fought the urge to wipe it off. Listen, I've got a dinner meeting with my publisher tonight. The new book's getting a lot of buzz. I scrubbed a plate with unnecessary force. Our book, you mean? What? Nothing. I smiled, the expression feeling foreign on my face. That's great news. I'm sure Claire will be thrilled to hear about it. His pause lasted exactly 2 seconds too long. Claire? The influencer helping with promotion? I kept my tone light, casual. I assumed she'd be at the meeting. Oh, right. No, just the core team tonight. He loosened his tie, a tell I'd noticed whenever he lied. Speaking of the book, how's the editing coming along? Almost finished. I turned to face him, studying the man I thought I knew. Just adding those little touches that make your voice so distinctive. He smiled, oblivious to the double meaning. That's my girl. Always making me look good. Emily's footsteps thundered down the stairs. Daddy! Can you help with my science project? Sorry, princess. Daddy's got meetings all day. He checked his watch, the one I'd bought him for our anniversary. Actually, I should head out now. I watched him hug our daughter, this man who could lie so effortlessly to both of us. Emily's disappointment was visible in her slumped shoulders, but she managed a brave smile. After he left, I held her close, breathing in her strawberry shampoo. Don't worry, baby. I'll help you with your project. And then I glanced at my laptop where his latest manuscript sat, waiting for my finishing touches. Mommy's got some writing of her own to do. Sarah's coffee went cold as she listened to Claire's voice message for the 3rd time. We sat in her backyard, away from curious ears, while her kids played video games inside. The morning sun felt too bright for such dark revelations. That manipulative bastard, she finally said, sliding my phone back across the table. How are you not breaking things right now? I traced the rim of my untouched mug. Emily needs stability. Besides, anger won't help me think clearly. Quinn, he's stealing your life's work. Your talent. And sleeping with some Instagram wannabe who probably can't write a grocery list without spell check. 3 million followers, I corrected automatically. And she's actually quite clever with her captions. I checked. Sarah's eyebrows shot up. Please tell me you're not defending her. No, your enemy. I pulled up my laptop, opening the folder I'd labeled Tax Documents 2023. Look at these emails between Ryan and his publisher. Notice anything interesting? She leaned in, scanning the correspondence I'd recovered from our shared cloud account. Wait. These drafts they're discussing. The timestamps. Exactly. Every major revision was submitted while he was supposedly at writing retreats. But his credit card statements show he was at the Four Seasons with Claire, while you were actually writing the books. Sarah's voice hardened. You have enough here to destroy him. My phone buzzed. Ryan's face appeared on the screen, along with a text, great news about the book. Celebration dinner tonight? Bring Emily. He's getting sloppy, I murmured, showing Sarah the message. Using Emily as a shield. He never wants family dinners unless he's hiding something. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, another text arrived, from Claire's lifestyle blog account to my personal email. An interview request for the woman behind the scenes of Ryan Mitchell's success. Sarah nearly choked on her coffee. She's either stupid or playing games. Neither. I forwarded the email to my secure account. She's marking her territory. Showing me she's not afraid. But she should be. Sarah's smile turned predatory. Because she doesn't know you like I do. You're not just some housewife who edits her husband's comic splices. I closed my laptop, decision made. I need you to watch Emily tonight. The celebration dinner? I'll tell Ryan you're having a crisis and need me. He won't question it, he never does when it gives him an excuse to cancel family time. Right on cue, my phone lit up with Ryan's response to my cancellation text, no problem, babe. Rain check? Maybe we can do something special this weekend instead. I showed Sarah his reply. See? Not even disappointed. He probably already had reservations with Claire. Quinn. Sarah hesitated. Just promise me you won't do anything rash. I stood, gathering my things. Rash would be confronting them tonight. Instead, I'm going to finish his manuscript. The one due next week? I'm going to make it brilliant. The best thing he's ever written. Why would you do that? Because when everything comes out, I want there to be no doubt who the real writer is. I paused at her garden gate. Did you know Claire's hosting the launch party for his new book next month? At her penthouse? The one you wrote? The one I'm about to make unforgettable. I managed a smile that felt more like baring teeth. After all, every good story needs a spectacular climax. Sarah watched me with concern. Just remember, Emily needs her mother more than she needs revenge. That's exactly why I'm doing this. I thought of my daughter's science project, still unfinished on our kitchen table. Emily needs to see that her mother isn't someone who can be erased. That her voice matters. As I drove home, Claire's interview request burned in my inbox like a challenge. She wanted the woman behind the scenes? Fine. But she'd learned that some stories don't end the way you expect, especially when the ghostwriter decides to stop playing dead. The recording app blinked red on my phone, hidden beneath a stack of manuscripts on Ryan's desk. He paced his study, rehearsing his speech for tomorrow's writers' panel while I pretended to edit. It's about finding your authentic voice, he declared to his imaginary audience. That unique perspective that sets you apart from every other writer. My fingers tightened around my pen. Maybe you should mention your creative process. How you develop your characters. Good idea. He flashed that trademark smile. Though honestly, they just come to me naturally. Like they're already fully formed, waiting to be discovered. They came to him in my drafts, actually. Every character, every plot twist, every carefully crafted metaphor. Speaking of characters, I said carefully, I've been thinking about Andrea in the new manuscript. The sister? What about her? She feels familiar. Almost like Claire. The pen in his hand stilled. I don't see the connection. Really? The ambitious social media influencer who destroys her sister's marriage. Who manipulates everyone around her while maintaining her perfect online presence. Ryan's laugh came too quickly. You're reading too much into it. Besides, you're the one who wrote that chapter. Got him. Did I? I kept my voice neutral, though my heart hammered. I thought you said that section came to you during your writing retreat last month. He loosened his tie, that tell again. Right, but you polished it. You know how it works, Quinn. We're a team. Are we? The study door creaked open before he could respond. Emily stood there in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Daddy, will you read me a story? Not tonight, princess. Daddy's preparing for a big speech. But you promised. Her lower lip trembled. 3 nights ago, you said tomorrow. Then yesterday you said tomorrow. Now it's tomorrow. I watched Ryan's face, wondering if he recognized his daughter's words as a quote from his latest book, the scene I'd written about a father's broken promises. The irony would be delicious if it wasn't so heartbreaking. Emily, I stood, why don't I? No, Ryan interrupted, she's right. I did promise. He set down his notes. One quick story, okay? Emily beamed, taking his hand. As they left, I quickly checked my phone. The recording had captured everything, including his admission about my writing. Not enough for definitive proof, but another piece of evidence for my growing collection. I opened his laptop, using the password I'd watched him type countless times. His email was still logged in. There, in his drafts folder, was an unfinished message to Claire. We need to be more careful. Q's been asking questions. Maybe we should cool things until after the book launch. Your place is too risky, the doorman recognizes me now. And delete any emails about the manuscript revisions. Better safe than. The draft ended there. My hands shook as I forwarded it to my secure email account. What are you doing? I jumped. Ryan stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. Checking the panel schedule for tomorrow, I lied smoothly. Making sure you haven't double-booked yourself. On my personal email? The invitation came to your private account. I stood, gathering my editing notes. Emily asleep already? She wanted you. His voice held an edge I'd never heard before. Said my stories aren't as good as yours. Apparently, I don't do the voices right. Children notice details. I moved toward the door. Like broken promises. He caught my arm. What's that supposed to mean? I met his gaze. It means I'm tired of being a ghost. Understanding flickered in his eyes, followed by something darker. We should discuss your role in the next book. Maybe it's time for some changes. Maybe it is. I pulled free of his grip. By the way, Claire's interview request? I accepted. She wants to know all about the woman behind your success. The color drained from his face. Quinn. Don't worry, I smiled, channeling his own practiced charm. I'll make sure to tell the right story. After all, isn't that what ghostwriters are for? I left him standing there, his carefully constructed world beginning to crack. In our daughter's room, I found Emily still awake, waiting for me. Mommy, she whispered as I sat on her bed, can you tell me a real story? Yes, baby. I stroked her hair, thinking of the manuscript I was crafting, not for Ryan this time, but for myself. I think it's finally time for my own story to be told. The cafe Claire chose for our interview sat across from Emily's school. A power play, reminding me what I had to lose. Through the window, I watched her arrange herself at an outdoor table, angling for optimal lighting. Everything was content to her. I checked my phone one last time. The voice recording app was ready. My finger hovered over the start button as I approached. Quinn. Claire stood, camera-ready smile in place. I'm so excited to finally meet Ryan's better half. Funny, I settled into my chair. That's not what you called me in your voice message. Her smile flickered but held. I'm not sure what you mean. Let's skip the performance, Claire. We both know why we're here. She studied me over her untouched latte. You're nothing like I expected. You mean I'm not the meek housewife who edits Ryan's commas? Actually, she leaned forward, dropping her influencer persona. I expected someone bitter. Angry. But you're calculating. You haven't seen me angry yet. A group of children spilled out of the school gates. Emily among them, laughing with her friends. Claire followed my gaze. She looks just like you, she observed. Does she know her father's a fraud? My hands clenched under the table. Does your audience know you're sleeping with a married man? My audience knows what I want them to know. She pulled out her phone, scrolling to a draft post. Like this story I'm working on. The truth behind Ryan Mitchell's success, a wife's desperate attempt to claim credit. Interesting angle. I kept my voice steady. But you forgot something. Oh. I have proof. Recordings. Emails. 8 years of manuscripts with my original drafts. How do you think your followers would react to the real story? She set down her phone. What do you want? World peace. Gender equality. My husband's head on a platter. I smiled. But I'll settle for the truth. The truth? She laughed. The truth is, Ryan needed me. You made him successful, but I made him happy. When was the last time you did that? Probably around the time he started stealing my words and calling them his own. Claire's expression shifted, something vulnerable breaking through. He told me you were partners. That you wanted to stay anonymous. And you believed him? I believed. She hesitated, glancing at Emily again. I believed he loved me. There it was. The crack in her armor I'd been waiting for. He doesn't love anyone but himself, I said softly. Not me, not you, not even his daughter. We're all just characters in his story. You're wrong. But uncertainty crept into her voice. I pulled out my laptop, opening the manuscript I'd found hidden in Ryan's private cloud. This is his next book. The one he hasn't shown you yet. She leaned forward despite herself. It's about a famous man who manipulates 2 women, his loyal wife and his ambitious mistress. Want to guess how it ends? Color drained from her face as she read. He wouldn't. The mistress takes the fall when everything crashes down. Becomes a cautionary tale about home-wrecking social climbers. He's already setting you up as the villain, Claire. My phone buzzed. Ryan's message flashed, "Where are you?" Emily's waiting at pickup. I stood, gathering my things. You have 24 hours to decide. Decide what? Whether you want to be Ryan's scapegoat or help me write a different ending. I paused. One where the women he underestimated turn out to be the heroes of their own stories. She grabbed my wrist. Why should I trust you? Because unlike Ryan, I actually write my own material. I pulled free. Including this conversation. Walking away, I heard her call after me, "Quinn? What makes you think you can win?" I turned back, seeing Emily wave from the school steps. Because I'm not playing his game anymore. I'm writing my own. Later, helping Emily with homework, I received a text from an unknown number. I'm in. But I have conditions. I smiled, thinking of the manuscript I'd shown Claire, the one I'd written specifically for this moment. Sometimes the best plot twists are the ones you plan yourself. Ryan's book launch invitation sat on my desk like a loaded gun. The glossy cardstock announced the event at Claire's penthouse, featuring both their names as hosts. Subtle as a brick through a window. My phone lit up with Claire's message, "He's getting suspicious. Asked me about our coffee meeting. What's our next move?" Before I could respond, Ryan appeared in the doorway of my home office. "Working late again?" "Just finishing the final edits." I minimized Claire's message. "Your speech for the launch needs polishing." He moved behind my chair, hands on my shoulders. The touch I once found comforting now made my skin crawl. "About the launch? I'm thinking maybe you should skip it." "Skip your biggest event of the year?" I kept my voice neutral. "That would look strange. You've seemed stressed lately. Maybe take Emily to visit your mother?" I turned to face him. "During your moment of triumph? When everyone's celebrating your authentic voice?" His fingers tightened slightly on my shoulders. "Quinn, what's really going on?" "You tell me, Ryan. You're the storyteller." The doorbell rang, saving him from responding. Through the window, I spotted Claire's distinctive red sports car. "Expecting someone?" Ryan's voice held an edge. "Actually, yes." I stood, shrugging off his hands. "Claire's here to discuss the launch logistics." "Didn't she tell you?" His face paled. "Claire's here? She's been so helpful with the planning." I moved toward the door. "Almost like she's part of the family." He grabbed my arm. "Whatever you think you know." "Dad?" Emily's voice came from upstairs. "Can you help me with my story? The one about the princess who saves herself?" Ryan released me like I'd burned him. "Not now, Emily." The sharpness in his voice made my decision crystallize. I opened the front door to find Claire, perfectly poised but with fear in her eyes. "Quinn," she managed a smile. "Ryan, I didn't expect." "Come in." I gestured to my office. "We have details to discuss." Ryan blocked the doorway. "Whatever this is, it stops now." "Does it?" I pulled out my phone, thumb hovering over Claire's contact. "Should I forward your late-night messages to your publisher? The ones about your creative process?" "You're bluffing." "Try me." I met his gaze. "Or should we discuss the real author of the princess story Emily's writing? The one you claimed came to you in a dream?" Claire shifted uncomfortably. "Ryan, maybe we should." "Shut up." He whirled on her. "This is your fault. You and your stupid interview idea." Actually, I stepped between them, that was my idea. Claire just played her part. Like a good character should. Understanding dawned in his eyes. "You planned this." "I learned from the best." I smiled his own practice smile back at him. "You always said good stories need strong conflict." Emily appeared at the top of the stairs, clutching her notebook. "Daddy? Why are you yelling?" The tableau froze, Ryan with his mask slipping, Claire caught between fear and calculation, me holding 8 years of receipts in my phone. And our daughter watching it all unravel. "Everything's fine, sweetheart," I called up. "Mrs. Thompson is expecting you for your sleepover, remember? Go pack your overnight bag." Ryan's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "You think you can destroy everything I've built?" "No, Ryan." I held up the launch invitation. "I'm going to let you do that yourself. At your party. Unless." "Unless what?" "Unless you're ready to tell the truth. All of it." Starting with who really writes your books. Claire stepped forward. I have proof too. Messages, videos, everything. His laugh held no humor. My loyal wife and devoted mistress, teaming up. Didn't see that plot twist coming. That's because you didn't write it. I heard Emily's footsteps descending. I did. And the ending? That's still being written. I watched him calculate his options, seeing the moment he realized he'd lost control of his carefully crafted narrative. The question was, would he burn it all down trying to keep his illusion, or accept the revised ending we'd prepared? Emily reached the bottom step, overnight bag in hand. Ready, Mom? The choice crystallized in that moment. Sometimes the most devastating revenge isn't destruction, it's simply telling the truth. We'll continue this discussion later, I said quietly. Unless you'd prefer to handle it at the launch party. Your choice, Ryan. But choose carefully. Some stories can't be rewritten. Claire's penthouse buzzed with literary elite, all here to celebrate Ryan's latest masterpiece. I watched from the corner as he worked the room, his practiced charm drawing people in like moths to flame. The manuscript I'd written clutched in my purse felt heavier by the minute. He's about to start his speech, Claire murmured, appearing beside me. Are you sure about this? I checked my phone. The email to Jessica Chen, the most ruthless literary journalist in the industry, was ready to send. Attached were the recordings, the original manuscripts, everything. Last chance to back out, I said. Claire's perfectly manicured nails tapped her champagne glass. He called me disposable last night. Said I was getting clingy. Ladies. Ryan's voice boomed as he approached. My two favorite women, together again. Should I be worried? Always, Claire smiled, all teeth. Ryan clinked his glass for attention. The room hushed as he took center stage, radiating confidence. Tonight we celebrate not just a book, but the power of authentic storytelling. My finger hovered over the send button. Quinn? Emily's voice crackled through my phone. Mom, where are you? The room tilted. Sarah was supposed to keep her overnight. Sweetheart, what's wrong? Dad's assistant came to get me. She said you and Dad wanted me at the party. The blood drained from my face. Ryan's assistant hadn't worked for us in months. Emily, where are you exactly? In the car. But Mom, I don't know this lady. Ryan's eyes locked with mine across the room as he continued his speech. His smile turned predatory. I've learned that true creativity comes from life's darkest moments, he proclaimed. From losing everything you thought you owned. My hands shook as I tried calling Sarah. Straight to voicemail. Claire gripped my arm. Quinn, what's happening? He knew. The realization hit like ice water. He knew about the evidence, about everything. He's using Emily too. And speaking of ownership, Ryan's voice cut through my panic. I'd like to thank my wife, Quinn. Stand up, darling. Let them see the woman who's always worked so diligently behind the scenes. The spotlight found me. Phones turned to record. This was his countermove, forcing my hand in front of witnesses. Mom? Emily's voice trembled through the phone. The lady's not taking me to the party. She's. The call cut off. Ryan raised his glass. To the hidden voices that shape our stories. The ones who prefer to remain anonymous. The room applauded. I met his gaze, seeing the ultimatum there. My revenge or our daughter? Choose carefully, Quinn, he said softly into the microphone. Some stories can't be rewritten. My own words thrown back at me. Claire's hand found mine under the cover of darkness. I have a car waiting downstairs. Go. I'll handle this. But the evidence will mean nothing if Emily's hurt. She squeezed my hand. Besides, you're not the only one with recordings. I deleted the email to Jessica Chin. Ryan's triumphant smile lasted exactly 3 seconds before Claire stepped into the spotlight. Actually, she announced, I have my own story to share tonight. About authenticity. About truth. She held up her phone. About who really writes Ryan Mitchell's books. The room stirred. Ryan's mask slipped. I was already moving, my heels silent on the plush carpet as I slipped out. Emily's last known GPS location blinked on my phone. 20 minutes away. Quinn! Ryan's voice carried down the hallway. Don't you dare. Claire's voice rose above his. Let me read you some interesting text messages about the real creative process behind these bestsellers. The elevator doors closed on the sound of gasps and murmuring. My reflection showed a woman I barely recognized, mascara smeared, hands steady, eyes burning. Emily's location blinked again. Moving north now. I'd wanted revenge. Wanted to reclaim my voice, my story. But some prices were too high. The elevator hit ground level. My phone buzzed with a text from Claire, go get her. I've got this covered. And Quinn? Make him pay. I stepped into the night, my daughter's tracking signal like a beacon. Ryan had forgotten the first rule of storytelling, never threaten a mother's child. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about survival. Emily's GPS signal led me to Ryan's lake house, the one he'd claimed was his private writing retreat. My headlights caught his car in the gravel driveway, next to an unfamiliar sedan. Through the window, I saw Emily curled up on the couch, apparently asleep. The woman beside her wasn't Ryan's former assistant, she was his publisher, Margaret Chin. Jessica Chen's mother. My phone vibrated. Claire's live stream from the party had gone viral. The literary world was imploding in real time. The front door opened before I could knock. Margaret's smile was razor-sharp. The real Mrs. Mitchell. Please, join us. Ryan emerged from his study, jacket off, tie loose. You should have taken the deal, Quinn. Public humiliation for private peace. Simple trade. Where's your phone? Margaret asked, too casually. Destroyed. I kept my voice steady. Like your career will be when people learn you helped cover up literary fraud. Fraud? Ryan laughed. I paid you well to write those books. Everything was legal. Except the contracts I never signed. The ones Margaret backdated. I turned to her. Did Jessica know you were suppressing stories about ghostwriters? That must have been an interesting mother-daughter conversation. Margaret's composure cracked slightly. You don't understand the industry. I understand everything. I moved toward Emily. Including why you're both here instead of damage control at the party. You need my original manuscripts. The ones proving the timeline. Smart girl. Ryan stepped between me and Emily. But you forgot something. I know how you write. Every plot twist, every character motivation. I taught you everything. No. I met his gaze. I taught you. And you never learned the most important rule. Which is? The villain always monologues too long. On cue, Sarah burst through the back door with 2 police officers. Emily startled awake at the commotion. Kidnapping and extortion, Sarah announced. Plus whatever they find on those hard drives, I saw them loading into Margaret's car. Ryan lunged for his study, but I was already there, blocking the door. Looking for these? I held up a USB drive. Claire wasn't the only one making recordings. Remember all those plotting sessions where you dictated plot points? The ones where you admitted everything? You wouldn't. His charm vanished, replaced by something ugly. You'll destroy yourself too. Mom? Emily's voice trembled. What's happening? I kept my eyes on Ryan. I'm telling the truth, baby. Like in your princess story. Remember how she saved herself? By using her voice, Emily whispered. Margaret moved toward her purse, but Sarah was faster. The police would love to see what's on your phone, Margaret. Especially those messages about suppressing stories. You planned this, Ryan realized. All of it. The party, Claire's betrayal, Jessica Chen's mother. I learned from the best. I smiled his signature smile. You always said good stories need satisfying endings. The officers moved in with handcuffs. Margaret started negotiating immediately, but Ryan just stared at me. I made you, he spat. No. I took Emily's hand, feeling her squeeze back. I made you. Every word, every story, every success. I just forgot to write one thing. What's that? My own story. I led Emily toward the door. But I'm starting now. Sarah followed us out, already dialing Claire for an update. Behind us, Ryan's voice rose in desperate explanation to the officers, spinning one last story nobody would believe. My phone buzzed with a message from Claire, done here. Your name is trending. Publishers are calling. Ready for phase 2? Emily looked up at me. Mom? Are we going home? No, baby. I hugged her close, breathing in her familiar scent. We're going somewhere better. We're going to write our own story. With a happy ending? I watched through the window as the officers led Ryan and Margaret out. 8 years of silence, of living in shadows, of writing other people's truths instead of my own, all of it ending in a single night. The happiest, I promised. Because this time, we're writing it together. Sarah started the car, and as we pulled away, I finally hit send on the email I'd been saving, my first novel, under my own name. Ready to tell the world who I really was. Some stories don't need revenge. They just need truth. The morning paper sat unopened on my desk, Ryan's guilty plea splashed across the headlines. Next to it, a stack of publishing contracts waited for my signature, not his. My phone buzzed with another message from his lawyer about the divorce settlement. I left them all untouched, focusing instead on Emily's voice drifting through our new apartment as she read aloud from her notebook. The princess realized her magic wasn't in her crown, but in her words. That's beautiful, Claire said from her spot on our couch. You're definitely your mother's daughter. I paused in the doorway, watching them. Claire had surprised everyone by becoming Emily's favorite writing mentor, their Sunday sessions now a weekly ritual. Sometimes redemption comes from unexpected places. Mom! Emily bounced up. I finished my story. Want to hear the ending? Always. I settled beside them, noticing how Claire's influencer polish had softened into something more genuine these days. My phone buzzed again. Sarah's text, court documents are sealed. Margaret took the plea deal. It's over. But it wasn't over. It was just beginning. Before you read, I pulled out a package from my desk. I have something for you. Emily tore open the wrapping, revealing a book, my book. The one I'd started the night I found Ryan's messages, written in stolen moments between revelations and betrayals. Ghostwriter by Quinn Mitchell, she read, then looked up with wide eyes. You wrote a whole book? I wrote many books, I smiled. But this is the first one with my name on it. Claire picked up the newspaper, scanning the headlines. Ryan's statement is interesting. He's still trying to control the narrative. Let him try. I opened the book to its dedication page. Emily read this part. She leaned in, her finger tracing the words, to my daughter, who taught me that the best stories are the ones we dare to tell ourselves. The doorbell rang. Claire checked her phone and stood. That'll be my car. Time for my meeting with the ghostwriting documentary people. You don't have to do this, I reminded her. Actually, I do. She gathered her things. Some stories need to be told, right? Even the messy ones. Even if we're not the heroes in them. After she left, Emily curled into my side. Mom? Are you sad about Dad? I considered the question, thinking of the manuscript pages spread across my desk, my new novel. Flowing freely now that I wasn't writing in someone else's voice. I'm sad about who I thought he was, I answered honestly. But not about who I discovered I could be. Like the princess in my story? Exactly like that. I picked up her notebook. Now, let's hear this ending of yours. She sat up straighter, proud and sure in a way I'd never been at her age. The princess realized she didn't need revenge against the people who stole her voice. She just needed to find it again, louder and stronger than before. My phone lit up with another call from Ryan's lawyer. I silenced it, focusing instead on my daughter's words, on the story she was creating, not a fairy tale of perfect justice. But something more complex. Something real. The morning sun caught the book cover on my desk, my name gleaming in gold letters. Beyond it, through the window, the city sprawled vast and full of possibilities. Somewhere out there, Ryan was crafting his comeback story, Claire was reshaping her narrative. And Sarah was probably already planning my next book tour. But here, in this moment, I listened to my daughter's voice, growing stronger with each word. She'd written her princess a different kind of ending, not one where she vanquished all her enemies. But one where she learned to speak her truth so loudly that their lies became irrelevant. Emily looked up from her notebook. Did I do it right? Perfect, I said, understanding finally that revenge hadn't been the answer. The real victory wasn't in destroying Ryan's story, but in reclaiming the power to tell our own. She grinned and turned the page. Want to help me write the sequel? Always, I promised, reaching for a pen. We've got plenty of stories left to tell.
I want a divorce. 3 words that shattered my world on an ordinary Tuesday morning, delivered between sips of the coffee I'd made him every day for 20 years. My name is Serenity, and 3 months ago, my husband and I celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary at the Ritz. Today, Trey sits across from me at our kitchen island, telling me he's in love with my 19-year-old cousin. Say something, Gal, he prompts, checking his Rolex, the one I bought him last Christmas. How long? My voice sounds foreign, like it's coming from somewhere else. Does it matter? It matters to me. I grip my coffee mug tighter, anchoring myself to something solid. 6 months. He won't meet my eyes. Since the Labor Day barbecue. The mug slips from my hand, shattering against the marble floor I'd picked out during our renovation last spring. Coffee spreads like a dark stain across the white tiles. Noelle, I whisper her name. She's barely older than the wine in our cellar. Age is just a number. He actually says this with a straight face. We didn't plan this, Serenity. It just happened. I flash back to Labor Day. Noelle showing up in that tiny sundress, all legs and golden hair. The way she kept touching Trey's arm when she laughed. How she lingered in the kitchen while he mixed drinks. You've been sleeping with her in our home? The guest house, actually. He has the audacity to look relieved, like confessing has lifted some great burden. Mary helped set it up for her last month. My mother-in-law? Of course. Mary never thought I was good enough for her precious son, even after I helped put him through business school, even after I turned our modest inheritance into a real estate portfolio that tripled our net worth. When were you planning to tell me about my cousin living in my guest house? We were trying to find the right time. He stands up, straightening his tie. Look, I have a meeting at 9. Can we discuss logistics later? I've already talked to a lawyer about division of assets. The room spins. I steady myself against the counter, bile rising in my throat. Get out! Serenity, get out! He leaves, just like that. 20 years reduced to a 10-minute conversation, and the sound of his BMW pulling out of our driveway. I spend the next hour vomiting in our ensuite bathroom. Then I lie on the cool tiles, staring at the ceiling I'd had hand-painted with gold leaf last summer. My phone buzzes repeatedly, missed calls from clients, texts from my assistant about today's design consultation. Around noon, the doorbell rings. I ignore it, but Mary has a key. I hear her heels clicking on the hardwood. Serenity? Her voice drips with fake concern. Darling, are you here? I find her in the kitchen, tisking at the broken mug and dried coffee still on the floor. Oh, you poor thing. She opens her arms for a hug I don't accept. Trey told me everything. These things happen, dear. Sometimes marriages just run their course. Get out of my house, Mary. Now, now. She perches on a bar stool like she owns it. We need to discuss arrangements. Noelle needs a proper place to stay, and that guest house is perfect for a fresh start. I stare at her, this woman who helped orchestrate my humiliation. The guest house is my property. Community property, dear, and Trey wants Noelle close. She stands, smoothing her designer skirt. I've already had the locks changed, just trying to make this transition easier for everyone. She leaves me standing there, surrounded by the wreckage of my marriage. Through the window, I catch a glimpse of Noelle in the garden, wearing one of my sun hats, watering my roses like she belongs there. My phone buzzes again. It's Eliana, my best friend and real estate lawyer. Where are you? Missed our lunch. Everything okay? I text back with trembling fingers. Need you? Emergency? Then I walk to my home office and unlock the safe behind my degrees. Inside is every financial document, every contract, every piece of paper that built this life Trey and Noelle think they can just step into. My reflection catches in the window, mascara streaked, hair a mess, designer dress wrinkled. They think I'm done, a middle-aged wife, easily discarded. They don't know who I used to be before I became Mrs. Trey Newman. They're about to find out. I pick up my phone again and dial a number I've kept for emergencies. Peter, it's Serenity. I need your services. How fast can you start surveillance on 2 people? The first tears I've shed all day finally fall, but they're not tears of grief. They're tears of rage. And rage, I'm discovering, burns much hotter than love ever did. You need a shark, Eliana declares, spreading documents across my dining room table. And I know just the one. Darren Shaw. He's ruthless, especially with cheaters. It's been 48 hours since Trey's announcement. I haven't slept, but I've been busy. Very busy. First things first, Eliana continues, highlighting sections of paperwork. The guest house? It's yours, 100%. You bought it with your inheritance before the marriage. Mary's little lock-changing stunt was illegal. A knock at the front door interrupts us. Through the security camera feed on my phone, I see a locksmith's van. Right on time, Eliana smirks. Let's go say hello to the happy couple. We find Noelle sunbathing by the guest house pool, my pool, while Trey works on his laptop nearby. The locksmith starts working without a word. What's going on? Trey stands up frowning. You can't do this. Actually, she can. Eliana steps forward, all business. This property belongs solely to Serenity. I have the deed right here. You're trespassing. Noelle sits up, adjusting her bikini, one I recognize from my own closet. But Mary said... Mary lied. I cut her off. You have 1 hour to pack your things and leave. This is ridiculous. Trey pulls out his phone. I'm calling my lawyer. Please do. Eliana hands him her card. Have them contact me directly. Oh, and Trey, the Bentley in the garage, also solely in Serenity's name. I'll need those keys. His face turns purple. You vindictive by... Careful, I interrupt. Peter's recording everything from that van across the street. You wouldn't want to add harassment to the legal complaints, would you? Noelle bursts into tears, the pretty, delicate kind she's perfected. You're being so cruel. We're family. Family? I laugh, and it sounds hollow even to my ears. Family doesn't fuck their cousin's husband in her guest house. An hour later, I watch them load their things into Trey's BMW. Mary shows up halfway through, screeching about family loyalty and Christian forgiveness. I let Peter record every word. You've got quite a team assembled, Eliana observes after they leave. Peter's good. Found something interesting already. She slides a photo across the table. It shows Noelle entering a fertility clinic. Taken yesterday, Eliana explains. Peter followed her there. She spent 2 hours inside. My stomach lurches. She's trying to get pregnant? Or trying to fake it? Eliana squeezes my hand. Either way, we're ahead of them now. The doorbell rings again. This time it's Darren Shaw, looking exactly like the shark Eliana promised. He sets his briefcase on my coffee table and gets straight to business. I've reviewed your financials, he says, pulling out a tablet. You're in a stronger position than most. The house, the guest house, the Bentley, all yours. But there's something odd in the joint accounts. He shows me transaction records, large sums moving between accounts, dates corresponding with Noelle's arrival. He's hiding money, I realize. Trying to. Darren smiles, but it's not friendly. Badly. We can use this. My phone buzzes. Mary calling again. I decline it. She'll try to paint you as unstable, Darren warns. The scorned wife lashing out. We need to control the narrative. Already on it, Peter calls from the doorway. He enters, laptop in hand. Found some interesting emails between Mary and Noelle, dating back months before the affair started. Want to see how they planned this? I read the emails, my hands shaking. The manipulation, the calculated moves, the way they discussed me like I was an obstacle to be removed. There's more, Peter adds. Noelle's been researching fake pregnancy symptoms online. And Mary? She's got financial trouble she's hiding from everyone. Seems she lost a lot of money in some questionable investments. Good. I stand up, suddenly energized. Use all of it, every detail. You sure? Eliana asks softly. This will get ugly. I walk to the window. In the distance, I can see the guest house, my guest house, where my teenage cousin plotted to steal my life. They made it ugly, I reply. I'm just playing by their rules now. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a text from Noelle. Please don't do this. We can work something out. Family should stick together. I show it to Darren. He grins. Perfect. She's scared. Let's use that. One more thing, Peter interjects, showing me his screen. Noelle visited the fertility clinic again today, but look who drove her there. The photo shows Mary's car in the parking lot. Well, I say, feeling a cold smile spread across my face. Isn't that interesting? She's here. My assistant's panicked voice crackles through my earpiece. Noelle just walked into the showroom with Mary. I'm in the middle of hosting a crucial design presentation for my biggest clients of the year. 30 potential investors are gathered in my showroom, sipping champagne and admiring my latest luxury home staging. Ladies and gentlemen, I continue smoothly, if you'll follow me to the garden terrace. Serenity, Noelle's voice rings out across the room. She's wearing a white sundress, playing the innocent ingenue perfectly. We need to talk. The room goes silent. Mary stands behind her, smartphone already recording. They planned this, of course. Create a scene, make me look unstable in front of my clients. I turn to my guests with an apologetic smile. Please excuse this unfortunate interruption. Security will handle it. You can't just ignore me, Noelle's voice cracks with fake tears. I'm carrying your husband's baby. Gasps ripple through the crowd. I see phones coming out, recording. Exactly what they wanted. But I'm ready. Actually, I say loudly, I have something to show everyone. I nod to my assistant, who clicks a remote. The massive presentation screen lights up with security footage from the fertility clinic. This is from yesterday. Notice the timestamp. The footage shows Noelle and Mary entering the clinic. Then, clear as day, Noelle's voice. I need to buy more pregnancy tests. The ones I've been using aren't convincing enough. Mary's face goes pale. Noelle freezes. And this, I continue, clicking to the next clip, is from their consultation room. Thank you, Peter, for being so thorough with the audio. Mary's voice fills the room. We need to move faster. Once she thinks you're pregnant, Trey will transfer the retirement funds. Just stick to the plan. The crowd murmurs. Several people are still recording, but now their phones are pointed at Noelle and Mary. Security, I call out pleasantly. Please escort these women out, and make sure to get copies of everyone's videos. My lawyer will need them for the fraud case. As they're led away, Noelle screaming about family betrayal, I turn back to my clients. Now, about that garden terrace. We've installed a stunning water feature. Later that evening, Eliana brings wine and takeout to my office. That video's gone viral in the local real estate groups, she says, pulling up her phone. Mary's reputation is toast. Good. I pour us both generous glasses. How's the legal side progressing? Darren's having a field day. Trey's lawyer called, trying to negotiate. They know we have them on the financial fraud. My phone buzzes. A text from Zoe, Noelle's best friend. Can we meet? There's something you need to know. Interesting, Eliana reads over my shoulder. Think it's a trap? Only one way to find out. I meet Zoe at a coffee shop downtown. She looks nervous, fidgeting with her cup. Noelle's been lying, she blurts out, about everything. She and Mary planned this months ago. They found out about Trey's retirement account and decided to take it, I finish. I know. No, it's worse. Zoe pulls out her phone. Look at these messages. They're going after your business next. Mary's been contacting your clients, telling them you're having a breakdown. I scroll through the screenshots, my blood boiling. Why are you showing me this? Zoe looks down. Because Noelle tried to do the same thing to my sister last year, with her husband. She has a pattern. Back home, I forward everything to Darren and Peter. Then I do something I've been avoiding. I watch my wedding video. 20 years ago, I promised to love and cherish Trey forever. In the video, Mary stands behind us, beaming with pride. Noelle, just a child then, throws flower petals. My phone rings. It's Peter. You need to hear this, he says without preamble. Voicemail from Mary to Noelle, recorded last week. I put it on speaker. Remember the plan. Secure the house. Secure the man. She can't undo it once you give him a baby. Real or not, it doesn't matter. The money will be ours. I end the call and walk to my window. In the distance, I can see Trey and Noelle through the window of their cheap rental apartment. They're arguing. Mary's car is parked outside. My phone buzzes again. Another text from Noelle. Please, I'm desperate. Can we talk? I'll tell you everything. I forward the message to Darren with 2 words. Set trap. Then I pour another glass of wine and start planning my next move. Because if they think this is bad, they have no idea what's coming next. How can you be so cold about this? My mother's voice trembles over Sunday brunch. She's your cousin, your family. I set down my mimosa, studying the woman who raised me to be nice at all costs. Did you say that to Noelle when she moved into my guest house to sleep with my husband? She's young, she made a mistake. She's 19, not 9. I lean forward. And you know what's interesting, Mom? I found some old emails between you and Mary. Want to explain why you knew about their affair 3 months ago and didn't tell me? The color drains from her face. I didn't want to hurt you. No, you didn't want to rock the boat. Just like always. My phone buzzes. Peter sending me updates. I excuse myself to take the call in the restaurant's lobby. Found something big, he says without preamble. Remember that failed business venture Mary invested in last year? Turns out it was linked to Noelle's ex-boyfriend. They were siphoning money from your joint accounts with Trey. How much? Close to 100,000. But here's the kicker. Mary used your signature to authorize the transfers. I've got the forged documents. I end the call and return to find my mother gone, her half-eaten eggs Benedict abandoned. Typical. She's been running from confrontation my whole life. Back home, I find Trey waiting in my driveway. He looks terrible, unshaven, wearing wrinkled clothes. "We need to talk," he says, following me inside despite my silence. "About the retirement account." "You mean the one you emptied to set up your teenage girlfriend?" "It's not like that." He runs his hands through his graying hair. "Noelle needed help. Her business idea." "What business idea?" I interrupt, pressing record on my phone. "The one Mary set up with Noelle's ex? The one they used our money for?" His face goes slack. "How did you know about the fraud, the forged signatures, the money laundering?" I smile coldly. "I know everything, Trey, and so will the SEC if you don't start talking." He breaks. Right there in my kitchen, he spills everything. How Mary convinced him I was going to leave him. How Noelle played on his insecurities. How they used the money for a scheme that was doomed from the start. I let my phone record every word. Later, Eliana reviews the recording with Darren. "This is gold," she says. "He admitted to everything." "There's more," Peter adds, joining us via video call. "I found messages between Mary and Noelle's friend Zoe. Seems Zoe was originally part of their plan, but backed out when she realized how deep it went." My phone lights up with a text from Zoe. "They're planning something big. Mary's desperate. Be careful." As if on cue, my doorbell rings. It's Mary, looking immaculate as always in her designer suit. "We need to end this foolishness," she announces, brushing past me into the foyer. "You're destroying our family's reputation." "I'm destroying it?" I laugh. "That's rich, coming from the woman who forged my signature to steal my money." She freezes. "I don't know what you're talking about." "No?" I pull up the documents on my tablet. "These transfer authorizations look familiar." Peter's handwriting expert says the forgeries are amateur work. Sloppy, really. "You bitch," she hisses, mask finally cracking. "You think you're so clever? You never deserved Trey, never deserved any of this." "And Noelle does? Your little puppet who can't even fake a pregnancy convincingly?" "At least she can give him children." Mary spits the words like venom. "Unlike you." The room goes silent. 20 years of pain surface in an instant. The miscarriages, the failed IVF, the dreams we buried. "Get out," I whisper. "Get out before I forget you're Trey's mother." She leaves, but not before turning at the door. "This isn't over." "Actually," I call after her, "it is. Check your email. Those forged documents already sent to your bank's fraud department." That night, I sit in my home office, surrounded by evidence of 2 decades of manipulation. My phone buzzes with a text from Zoe. "I know what she did, and it's worse than you think. Mary's been planning this since your wedding day." I pour a glass of wine and pull up the security cameras. Through the guest house windows, I can see Noelle packing boxes. Trey's car is gone, probably running to Mary for help again. They thought they could break me. Instead, they gave me everything I need to destroy them all. My phone rings. It's Peter. "You're not going to believe what I just found in Mary's old records." "I'm pregnant!" Noelle's voice rings through the country club dining room. She's standing on a chair, champagne glass raised, tears streaming down her face. "Trey and I are having a baby!" The assembled crowd, mostly Mary's friends, breaks into applause. Trey beams, accepting congratulations. Mary sits like a queen, basking in her triumph. I sip my martini at the bar, watching the show. They haven't noticed me yet. "Quite the performance," Zoe mutters, sliding onto the bar stool next to me. "Should we tell them about her appointment to discuss abortion options yesterday?" "Not yet." I check my phone. Peter's latest update confirms everything. Let them dig the hole deeper. Trey spots me finally. His smile falters. What are you doing here? Having a drink. I raise my glass. Congratulations on the miracle, baby. Though I'm curious, how far along did you say you were, Noelle? She stammers. 8 weeks. Interesting. I pull out my phone. Because according to your medical records from last week, you're not pregnant at all. The room goes silent. Mary stands up, face flushed. How dare you, Al? Oh, I dare! I turn to the crowd. Did you know Noelle's been researching how to fake pregnancy tests online? Or that she has an appointment tomorrow to discuss termination options? Guess the retirement money transfer wasn't enough. She needed a bigger payday. She's lying! Noelle shrieks, but her mascara is running now with real tears. Show them, Zoe says quietly. I project the medical records onto the wall using the club's presentation screen. Noelle's name, date, test results, all clearly visible. You broke doctor-patient confidentiality, Mary sputters. Actually, Noelle signed a release. I smile at Zoe. Her best friend here is still listed as her medical proxy. Oversight on your part, really. Trey's face has gone from red to white. Is this true? He asked Noelle. Have you been lying? She looks desperately at Mary, who's already gathering her things to flee. Don't leave yet, Mary. I raise my voice. Don't you want to explain why you took Noelle to that fertility clinic? Or why you've been researching fake pregnancy symptoms together? The crowd is muttering now, phones recording everything. Mary's carefully cultivated social circle, witnessing her humiliation in real time. While we're all here, I continue, let's discuss the retirement accounts. Trey, want to tell everyone what you did with our savings? Or should I play the recording? This is a private matter, he growls. Nothing's private anymore. I stand up, addressing the room. My husband and mother-in-law conspired with my teenage cousin to steal my money, fake a pregnancy, and try to take my home. But please, don't let me spoil the celebration. Noelle runs from the room sobbing. Trey follows, calling her name. Mary sits alone at her table, her social circle already dispersing with whispers and sideways glances. That was brutal, Zoe says admiringly. I'm not done. I check my watch. In about 30 seconds. Right on cue, Darren walks in with a courier. Mrs. Newman, legal documents for you to sign. I take the papers with a flourish, making sure Mary can see. The court order to freeze all accounts involved in the fraud investigation? Perfect timing. Mary finally breaks. You can't do this. That money. I needed it for... For what? I cross to her table. The gambling debts? The failed investment schemes? Or the 20 years of bitterness because your son married someone you couldn't control? She slaps me. The sound echoes through the now silent room. I don't flinch. Thank you for that. Peter, did you get it on camera? He emerges from behind a pillar, professional camera in hand. Every second, assault charges will look great in the court documents. I gather my purse. Oh, and Mary? The country club board meets tomorrow. I sent them everything. The fraud evidence, the fake pregnancy scheme, this lovely assault video. Enjoy your last dinner here. Outside, Trey is arguing with Noelle in the parking lot. She's screaming about promises he made, money he guaranteed her. Should we tell him about her ticket to Mexico? Zoe asks. The one she bought yesterday? No need. I watch as their relationship implodes in real time. Some things destroy themselves. My phone buzzes. Another update from Peter. Found Mary's old diary. You won't believe what she wrote about your miscarriages. I forward it to Darren with a simple message. Use everything. Because if they thought today was bad, tomorrow would be worse. Much worse. All rise, the bailiff announces. Court is now in session. I smooth my charcoal gray suit and stand, watching Trey squirm at the defendant's table. Mary sits behind him, clutching her designer handbag like a shield. Noelle is conspicuously absent, probably still nursing her hangover from last night's social media meltdown. Your Honor, Darren begins, we're seeking immediate injunctive relief. The defendants have demonstrated a pattern of financial fraud and harassment. Objection, Trey's lawyer interrupts. These are simple domestic disputes being blown out of proportion. Simple? Darren raises an eyebrow. Let's review the evidence, shall we? He projects the first document. Bank transfers totaling over $200,000, made with forged signatures. Text messages planning a fraudulent pregnancy scheme. And this morning's edition, death threats from Mrs. Newman Sr. to my client. The judge leans forward. Death threats? Play the recording, I whisper to Darren. Mary's voice fills the courtroom. You'll regret this, Serenity. I know people who can make you disappear, just like we made your babies disappear. Gasps echo through the gallery. Trey's face goes ashen. What is she talking about? He demands, turning to his mother. Mary starts to respond, but Darren's already moving. Your Honor, we have evidence that Mrs. Newman Sr. deliberately sabotaged my client's fertility treatments 20 years ago. Hospital records show she bribed a nurse to switch medications. The judge's gavel cracks like a gunshot. Approach the bench, all of you, now. As the lawyers huddle with the judge, my phone vibrates. A text from Zoe. Noelle just went live on Instagram. She's confessing everything. I pull up the stream. Noelle, mascara-streaked and clearly drunk, is sobbing into her phone. Mary made me do it. She said if I helped destroy Serenity's marriage, she'd pay for my college. But she lied. They all lied. Your Honor, Darren calls out, holding up his tablet. You might want to see this. The next hour is a blur of legal terms and accusations. When the dust settles, the judge's ruling is clear. Full property rights to me, restraining orders against Mary and Noelle, and a freeze on all joint assets pending criminal investigation. This isn't over, Mary hisses as I pass her in the hallway. Actually, it is. I hand her an envelope. The country club board's decision. You're out. Oh, and your bridge club? They've seen everything, too. Good luck finding a fourth for your weekly game. Outside the courthouse, reporters are waiting. Trey tries to push past them, but I grab his arm. One more thing, I say loudly enough for the cameras to catch. Remember that charity gala you're hosting next week? The one to save your business reputation? His eyes narrow. What about it? Check your phone. He pulls it out, face falling as he reads the message from the venue. You got it canceled? Not canceled, transferred, to my company. I smile for the cameras. I'm hosting now. All your clients will be there. Should be interesting when I show them the proof of your embezzlement. You can't. I can. I did. And Mary? I turn to his mother, who's trying to slink away. Don't bother calling your country club friends for help. They're all coming to my party instead. Later that evening, I sit in my office with Eliana and Peter, reviewing the damage. Noelle's still streaming, Peter reports. She's named names, dates, everything. Mary's other victims are coming forward, too. Seems you weren't the first family she tried to destroy. And Trey? I ask. His firm put him on leave pending investigation. Eliana grins. Turns out they don't like partners who commit fraud. My phone rings. It's Darren. You'll never believe what just landed in my inbox. Mary's been recording everything, keeping a digital diary. Someone just leaked it all to me. Someone? I glance at Zoe, who's quietly typing on her laptop in the corner. She shrugs. Mary should have been nicer to her housekeeper. Amazing what people will share for the right price. I pour champagne for everyone. Through my window, I can see movers emptying the guest house. Noelle's last belongings being carted away. To Karma? Eliana raises her glass. Not yet, I say, checking my phone one last time. We're not done. The gala's next week, and I've got one last surprise for them. Haven't they suffered enough? Zoe asks. I think of my lost babies, of 20 years of manipulation, of Mary's smug smile when she thought she'd won. No, I answer, not even close. The ballroom sparkles with 1,000 lights, exactly as I designed it. 300 of the city's elite mill around, sipping champagne and admiring the charity auction items I've curated. Every single one of Trey's former clients is here. "They're coming," Eliana whispers, checking her phone. Mary just pulled up with Trey. "And Noelle?" "Already inside, hiding by the bar. She looks terrible." I smooth my red designer gown, the one Trey always said was too bold, and take the stage. The microphone feels cool in my hand. "Welcome, everyone," I begin. "Tonight isn't just about raising money for children's cancer research. It's about truth, about justice." The doors burst open. Mary storms in, Trey trailing behind her like a lost puppy. They freeze when they see me on stage. "Perfect timing," I continue. "I was just about to share some interesting financial documents. You see, this charity event was supposed to be hosted by my ex-husband's firm, but they had to step down when they discovered something alarming." "Don't you dare!" Mary shouts. "Security, please ensure Mrs. Newman stays for this part." 2 guards move to block the exits. "Now where was I? Ah, yes, the fraud." I nod to Peter, who starts the presentation. Bank statements, transfer records, and damning emails flash across the giant screens. Over the past year, money meant for children's cancer treatment was diverted to private accounts belonging to Mary Newman and her accomplices. The crowd gasps. Phones come out, recording everything. "That's a lie." Trey steps forward. "You're making this up." "Am I?" I gesture to the side stage. "Please welcome Thomas Reed, FBI Financial Crimes Division." A man in a dark suit steps forward, badge glinting. "Mr. Newman, we've been investigating your mother's charity schemes for months. Ms. Newman here helped us connect the final dots." Mary crumples into a chair, her perfectly maintained facade finally cracking. Noelle emerges from her hiding spot, mascara already running. "While we're here," I continue, "let's discuss the fertility clinic records. Mary, would you like to explain why you paid a nurse to sabotage my treatments 20 years ago? Or should I play the confession she recorded for us?" "You bitch," Mary snarls. "You've ruined everything." "No, you did that yourself. By the way, Noelle, that trust fund Mary promised you, the one you betrayed your family for, it never existed. She's been bankrupt for years, running pyramid schemes through charity events just like this one." Noelle rushes the stage, but security catches her. "You promised!" she screams at Mary. "You promised me everything." "Take them," Agent Reed signals his team. They move in with handcuffs. "This is all your fault." Trey lunges toward me, but Peter intercepts him smoothly. "Assault on camera?" Peter tisks. "Not smart." I watch as they're led away, Mary shouting about lawyers, Trey begging his clients not to leave, Noelle sobbing about betrayal. The crowd parts like the Red Sea, phones recording every moment of their downfall. And now, I turn back to the audience. Let's focus on what really matters. Our children's hospital needs a new cancer ward. Who's ready to donate? The event raises record amounts. Every former client of Trey's pledges to my new design firm instead. By midnight, Mary's entire social circle has publicly denounced her. Later, as the last guests leave, Eliana finds me on the balcony. "That was brutal," she says admiringly. "Brilliant, but brutal. They deserved worse." I sip my champagne. "Did you see Peter's final report? About Mary's other victims, the other families she destroyed?" Eliana nods. "The FBI's building quite a case." My phone buzzes. A text from Zoe. "Noelle's been picked up by her parents. They're sending her to rehab in Arizona. She told the FBI everything." Another message follows, this one from Peter. "Found something in Mary's old records. There's one more secret you need to see." I forward it to Darren without opening it. Some truths can wait until morning. Through the ballroom windows, I watch the cleaning crew dismantling the event. Everything Trey and Mary built, every lie they told, every scheme they planned, all gone in a single night. "To new beginnings," Eliana raises her glass. "No," I correct her. "To karma." My phone lights up one last time, a message from an unknown number. You think you've won? Watch your back. Some secrets stay buried. I delete it without responding. Let them threaten. Let them scheme. I'm not the same woman they tried to destroy. I'm so much worse. Guilty on all counts. The judge's words echo through the courtroom. Mary's shoulders slump as the verdict is read. Fraud, conspiracy, financial crimes, the list goes on. Each charge adds years to her sentence. I sit in the back row, watching justice unfold. Trey pleaded out months ago, turning on his mother to save himself. Noelle's testimony from rehab sealed their fate, but I stayed to see Mary's face when her world finally crumbled. Ms. Newman, the judge addresses me directly. Would you like to make a victim impact statement? I stand smoothing my skirt and approach the podium. Mary won't look at me. 20 years ago, this woman orchestrated the loss of my children. She bribed medical staff, falsified records, and watched me suffer through miscarriage after miscarriage. She smiled at my pain, plotted my destruction, and tried to steal everything I built. My voice stays steady. But she failed, because she never understood one thing. I'm not just a victim. I'm a survivor. Mary finally meets my eyes. I see fear there, real fear. Your Honor, I don't want her money. I don't want restitution. I want her to live with what she's done, in prison, where she can't hurt anyone else's family. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm. I give them nothing but a smile as Eliana guides me to the car. Peter's waiting at the office, she says. That final secret from Mary's records, it's big. In my newly expanded design firm's conference room, Peter spreads documents across the table. Mary kept detailed records of everyone she destroyed, he explains, including this woman, Angela. She was engaged to Trey before you. My hands shake as I read. Angela disappeared 30 years ago, allegedly moving abroad. But Mary's diary tells a different story. She was pregnant, I whisper. Mary drove her away, paid her off. There's more. Peter pulls up an email. Angela's daughter just turned 29. She's been looking for her father. Does Trey know? No. Mary buried it all. But here's the twist. Angela's daughter is a prosecutor. She helped build the case against Mary without knowing the connection. My phone buzzes. A text from Zoe. Noelle's doing better. She asked if you'd accept a letter. I set the phone down without responding. Some bridges stay burned. Eliana pours coffee, her engagement ring catching the light. Our new joint venture, a combination design firm and legal consultancy, takes up 3 floors now. What are you going to do about Angela's daughter, she asks. Nothing. I gather the documents. Mary's secrets died with her freedom. Let Trey live with his choices. A knock at my office door. It's Darren. Final paperwork from the divorce. And, he hesitates, Trey asked me to give you this. It's our old wedding photo, cracked down the middle. On the back, he's written, I'm sorry. I never deserved you. Too little, too late. I drop the photo in my shredder and turn to the wall of windows. My redesigned office overlooks the city where I rebuilt myself. Below, workers are installing the sign for our expanded company, Newman and Butler Design and Legal Services. Your next appointment's here, my assistant calls through the intercom. The Children's Hospital Board? Right. The new cancer ward, my first major project since the gala, funded entirely by donations from Trey's former clients. Ready? Eliana gathers her files. Almost. I open my desk drawer, touching the small silver frame hidden inside. My last ultrasound photo from 20 years ago. The baby Mary stole from me. I close the drawer without taking it out. Some pain you carry forward, letting it fuel you instead of break you. Ms. Newman? My assistant again. There's a young woman here, too. Says her name is Angela's daughter. I take a deep breath. Send them both in, because that's the thing about karma. It doesn't just destroy. Sometimes it rebuilds, reconnects, restores. Coming, I call back, straightening my shoulders. Through the glass walls, I see her, young, professional, with Trey's eyes and Angela's smile. She clutches a folder of her own secrets, her own questions. I open my office door, extending my hand. Welcome. I think we have a lot to talk about. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's living well, succeeding boldly, and helping others find their truth. They broke my heart. I rebuilt it with stone. But stone, I've learned, can also build bridges, just not to the past.
I was sitting at my desk, surrounded by blueprints and zoning regulations, when the email notification popped up. It was a routine check of our joint account, something I did every month to ensure everything was in order. But this time, something was off. A series of transactions, all substantial, were listed under Nate's name. They were not the usual grocery or utility payments. Instead, they were payments to a name I didn't recognize, and they had been going on for months. My name is Alara, and I'm an urban planner. I love my job, creating spaces that bring people together. But right now, all I could feel was a knot tightening in my stomach. Nate and I had always been open about our finances, or so I thought. This discovery felt like a crack in the foundation of my life, threatening to crumble everything I'd worked so hard to build. I tried to shake off the unease that settled over me, telling myself there had to be a reasonable explanation. Maybe it was a business expense or a surprise he was planning. But the amounts were too large and too frequent to be anything innocent. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen, the numbers blurring together as my mind raced. "Hey, Alara, you okay?" Tessa's voice pulled me back to reality. She stood at my office door, her usual smile replaced with concern. "Yeah, just a bit distracted," I replied, trying to sound casual. But Tessa knew me too well to be fooled. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. "Distracted by what?" she pressed, settling into the chair across from me. I hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal. But Tessa had been my rock through so many storms. "It's Nate. I found some transactions on our account. They don't make sense." Her eyebrows shot up. "Have you talked to him about it?" "Not yet. I don't want to jump to conclusions," I said, though even as the words left my mouth, I knew they were a flimsy excuse. Tessa nodded, her eyes thoughtful. "Well, maybe it's nothing. But if it's bothering you, you should ask him." I nodded, though the idea of confronting Nate filled me with a sense of dread. What if it was something serious? What if it was the beginning of an unraveling I wasn't prepared to face? Later that evening, I sat across from Nate at the dinner table, the usual comfort of our shared meal tainted by the questions swirling in my mind. He was talking about his day, something about a project deadline, but I barely heard him. I was too focused on the way he avoided eye contact, the slight tension in his shoulders. "Nate," I interrupted, my voice firmer than I felt. "I noticed some transactions on our account. They're pretty significant." He paused, fork halfway to his mouth. "Oh, those. Yeah, I meant to tell you. It's just some investments I've been making." Investments. The word hung between us, heavy and unsatisfying. "Investments," I echoed, trying to keep my tone even. He nodded too quickly. "Yeah, just trying to build something for our future." I wanted to believe him desperately. But there was something in his eyes, a flicker of something that made my skin prickle with unease. "Can you show me the details? I'd love to know more about it." He hesitated just for a moment, but it was enough. "Sure, I'll show you later. It's all pretty boring stuff." I forced a smile, though my mind was screaming. Later. It was always later. And I couldn't shake the feeling that later would never come. That night, as I lay in bed beside him, listening to his steady breathing, I knew I couldn't let it go. This wasn't just about money. It was about trust, and the gnawing fear that there was more beneath the surface than I dared to imagine. I decided then that I needed to know the truth, no matter the cost. As I drifted into a restless sleep, I resolved to dig deeper, to uncover whatever secrets Nate was hiding. Because if I didn't, I feared I might lose everything I held dear. The next morning, I woke with a sense of determination. I would find out what was going on, and I wouldn't stop until I had answers. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would change everything I thought I knew about my life and the man I loved. The morning after my discovery, I found myself at Lorraine's doorstep, clutching a tray of muffins as a peace offering. Lorraine had always been warm, treating me like her own daughter. But lately, she'd been distant, her calls less frequent, her hugs less tight. I needed to know if she had noticed anything strange about Nate, too. Lorraine opened the door, surprise flickering across her face before she pulled me into a hug. It was warm, but there was a hesitation I couldn't ignore. "Alara, what a lovely surprise," she said, ushering me inside. The house smelled of lavender and fresh coffee, a comforting mix that reminded me of simpler times. We settled in her cozy kitchen, and I watched her pour coffee into 2 mismatched mugs. "How are things with you and Nate?" she asked, her tone casual but her eyes sharp. I hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal. "We're working through some things," I said, choosing my words carefully. "Have you noticed anything different about him lately?" Lorraine's hand paused mid-pour, a slight tremor that spoke volumes. "He's been busy, I suppose. The work can be demanding." There it was again, that hint of something unsaid. "He's been making some big financial decisions," I said, trying to gauge her reaction. She nodded too quickly. "Nate's always been ambitious. I'm sure he has a plan." A plan. I wanted to believe that, but the doubt gnawed at me. "I just wish he'd talk to me about it," I admitted, my voice softer. Lorraine reached across the table, her hand warm on mine. "Men can be foolish sometimes, Alara. But Nate loves you. I'm sure he'll come around." I wanted to believe her, but the uncertainty lingered. As I left her house, I couldn't shake the feeling that Lorraine knew more than she was letting on. Her words were reassuring, but the tension in her eyes told a different story. Back at home, I found Nate in his office, his brow furrowed in concentration as he typed away. I watched him for a moment, trying to reconcile the man I loved with the stranger he seemed to be becoming. "Nate!" I called softly, stepping into the room. He looked up, a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Hey, everything okay?" I nodded, though my heart was pounding. "I went to see your mom today." His fingers paused over the keyboard, a flicker of something unreadable crossing his face. "Oh? How is she?" "She's good. We talked about you." I watched him carefully, hoping for a sign, anything that would make sense of the knots in my stomach. Nate leaned back in his chair, his expression guarded. "And she said you've been busy. I wish you'd talk to me about what's going on." He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Alara, I'm trying to handle it. I don't want to worry you." "But I am worried," I said, my voice firmer than before. "I'm your wife, Nate. We're supposed to handle things together." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and for a moment I thought I saw a crack in his defenses. But just as quickly it was gone. "I promise I'll explain everything soon." That promise hung in the air, fragile and unconvincing. I nodded, though my mind was already racing ahead, plotting my next move. If Nate wouldn't tell me the truth, I'd have to find it myself. Later that night, I called Tessa, my heart pounding as I filled her in on my conversation with Lorraine and Nate's evasiveness. "This doesn't sound good, Alara," she said, her voice crackling over the line. "What's your next step?" "I need to dig deeper," I said, determination hardening my resolve. "I can't keep living in this uncertainty." "Do you want me to help?" Tessa offered, her loyalty unwavering. I hesitated, knowing the risk but needing her support. "Yes. I could use all the help I can get." As we hung up, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Whatever Nate was hiding, I was going to find out. And with Tessa by my side, I knew I wasn't alone in this fight. The next morning, I woke with a plan. I would start by looking into Nate's recent activities, checking his emails and phone records, anything that might give me a clue. It was a step I never thought I'd have to take, but desperate times called for desperate measures. Little did I know, the truth I was about to uncover would be more shocking than I could have ever imagined. setting me on a path that would test every ounce of strength I had. I sat at my computer, the room dimly lit by the glow of the screen. My heart pounded as I navigated through Nate's email account, the one he never mentioned. It had taken a few guesses and a lot of nerve to crack his password, but here I was, staring at a digital Pandora's box. The first few emails were mundane, work updates, newsletters, spam. But then I found them. A thread of messages with a woman named Emily. My breath caught as I clicked on one, my eyes scanning the words that confirmed my worst fears. "Can't wait to see you this weekend. Miss you so much," read one email, signed with a heart emoji. My stomach twisted as I read on, each message a dagger, revealing a relationship that was far more than just friendship. Emily. I'd never heard of her, but she seemed to know Nate intimately. The emails spoke of shared weekends, whispered secrets, plans for a future that didn't include me. My hands shook as I closed the laptop, the betrayal cutting deeper than I'd imagined. I needed air, space to think. I grabbed my coat and headed out, the cool evening air doing little to calm the storm inside me. I found myself walking to Tessa's apartment, my feet moving on autopilot. She opened the door, her face immediately falling as she saw mine. "Alara, what happened?" she asked, pulling me inside. "I found his emails," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "He's been seeing someone else." Tessa's eyes widened in shock, but she quickly pulled me into a hug. "Oh, Alara, I'm so sorry." We sat on her couch, the reality of my situation settling in like a heavy fog. "I don't know what to do," I admitted, my voice cracking. "You don't have to decide anything right now," Tessa said gently. "But you need to confront him." I nodded, though the thought of facing Nate filled me with dread. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, the ground crumbling beneath me. "I don't even know who he is anymore." Tessa squeezed my hand. "You're strong, Alara. You'll get through this." Her words were a balm, but the path ahead felt impossibly daunting. I stayed with her that night, unable to face Nate, unable to pretend everything was normal. The next day I returned home, my mind made up. I needed answers, and I needed them now. Nate was in the kitchen, sipping coffee, his demeanor casual, as if our world wasn't about to implode. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. He looked up, a hint of wariness in his eyes. "Sure, what's up?" I took a deep breath, the words heavy on my tongue. "Who is Emily?" His expression shifted, a flicker of panic quickly masked by feigned confusion. "Emily? What are you talking about?" "I saw the emails, Nate. All of them," I said, my voice rising with each word. "You've been lying to me." He set his mug down, his facade crumbling. "Alara, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That you're married to someone else? That you've been living a double life?" The words tumbled out, raw and accusatory. Nate's shoulders slumped, the fight leaving him. "It's complicated." Complicated. The word felt like a slap. "You think?" I snapped, anger finally breaking through the numbness. "How long has this been going on?" He hesitated, and in that moment I knew the truth was worse than I'd imagined. "A few years," he admitted, his voice barely audible. "Years." My world tilted, the betrayal cutting deeper than any wound. "Why, Nate? Why would you do this?" "I didn't mean for it to happen," he said, his voice desperate. "I was in a bad place, and—" I cut him off, unable to hear more excuses. "You've been lying to me, to your family. How could you?" He reached for me, but I stepped back, the distance between us suddenly insurmountable. "I'm sorry, Alara. I never wanted to hurt you." The apology felt hollow, a bandage on a gaping wound. "I need time," I said, my voice breaking. "I can't do this right now." I turned and walked away, the weight of his betrayal pressing down on me. As I left the house, I realized that justice and revenge were no longer abstract concepts. They were my reality, and I was determined to find a way to reclaim my life from the wreckage Nate had left behind. I returned to work, trying to bury myself in the comforting chaos of urban planning. But the betrayal lingered like a shadow, seeping into every corner of my mind. My colleagues noticed my distraction, but I brushed off their concern with forced smiles and half-hearted reassurances. The project I was working on, a new community park, had been my passion for months. It was supposed to be a place of connection and joy, a symbol of hope. But now it felt like just another task on a never-ending list, overshadowed by the turmoil in my personal life. One afternoon, as I was reviewing plans, my phone buzzed. It was Lorraine. Her voice was strained, a hint of something urgent beneath her usual calm. "Alara, can we meet?" she asked, skipping the pleasantries. "Of course," I replied, sensing the weight in her words. "Is everything okay?" She hesitated, and that pause spoke volumes. "I'll explain when we meet. Can you come over later?" I agreed, my curiosity piqued and my anxiety rising. What could be so important that she couldn't tell me over the phone? When I arrived at Lorraine's, she greeted me with a tight smile. We settled in her living room, the air thick with unspoken words. "I've been doing some thinking," she began, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "About Nate and everything that's happened." I nodded, urging her to continue. "And I've been supporting him financially," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "He told me it was for you, for your career." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. "For me?" I echoed, disbelief coloring my voice. She nodded, her eyes filled with regret. "I thought I was helping, but now I'm not so sure." The room seemed to close in around me, the implications of her revelation settling heavily on my shoulders. Nate had not only betrayed me but had used Lorraine's generosity to cover his tracks. "I'm so sorry, Alara," Lorraine said, her voice breaking. "I didn't know." I reached out, squeezing her hand. "It's not your fault. He's been lying to both of us." We sat in silence, the weight of our shared betrayal hanging between us. It was a turning point, a moment that forced me to reevaluate everything I thought I knew about Nate and our marriage. "I need to confront him," I said finally, determination hardening my resolve. "I can't let this continue." Lorraine nodded, her expression fierce. "And I'll be right there with you. We deserve answers." As I left her house, a plan began to form. I would gather more evidence, confront Nate with the truth, and demand accountability. It was time to take control of my life, to stop being the victim of his deceit. The following days were a blur of activity. I spent hours combing through bank statements, emails, anything that could give me more insight into Nate's double life. Meanwhile, Tessa helped me piece together a timeline, her support unwavering. But just as I felt I was gaining ground, an unexpected twist shattered my fragile sense of control. I received a call from Harold Mercer, a name I recognized from Nate's emails. He was Emily's father. "Alara, I'm not sure how to say this," Harold began, his voice filled with an unfamiliar tension. "But I think there's something you need to know about Nate." My heart pounded as I listened, each word confirming my worst fears. Nate had married Emily under false pretenses, using Lorraine's money to fund a life I knew nothing about. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. "Because Emily passed away recently," Harold said, grief threading through his words. "And I found some documents that didn't add up. Nate's been lying to us too." The revelation hit me like a tidal wave, the magnitude of Nate's betrayal more profound than I'd imagined. I thanked Harold, promising to keep in touch, though my mind was already spinning with the implications. This new information shifted everything. Nate's deceit was deeper and more calculated than I'd realized, affecting not just me but another family. The stakes were higher, the need for justice more urgent. I met with Lorraine and Tessa that evening, sharing what I'd learned. Together, we devised a plan to confront Nate, to hold him accountable for the web of lies he'd spun. As I prepared for the confrontation, I felt a shift within me. The desire for revenge was tempered by a deeper need for justice, not just for myself but for everyone Nate had hurt. It was time to face him, to demand the truth, and to reclaim my life from the chaos he'd created. The day of the funeral arrived, a somber occasion clouded by the storm of revelations and deceit. Lorraine and I had decided it was the perfect setting to confront Nate. The irony of exposing his lies at a funeral for a mother who wasn't even dead was not lost on us. We arrived together, the tension between us a shared burden. Lorraine's face was set in determination, her usual warmth replaced by a steely resolve. I felt the same fire burning within me, fueled by the need for justice and the desire to reclaim control over my life. The Mercers were there, Harold and Diana, dressed in black, their faces etched with grief. I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for them, unwitting victims of Nate's web of lies. As we entered the hall, Nate spotted us. For a moment, I saw a flicker of panic in his eyes before he masked it with a smile. He approached us, his demeanor as charming as ever, but I could see the cracks beneath the surface. "Lorraine, Alara, I'm glad you could make it," he said, his voice smooth but lacking sincerity. Lorraine didn't waste any time. "We need to talk, Nate. Now." He glanced around, the tension between us palpable. "Can it wait? This isn't the time or place." I stepped forward, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "No, Nate. It can't wait." Reluctantly, he led us to a quieter corner, away from the mourners. The moment we were out of earshot, Lorraine turned on him, her voice low and fierce. "How could you do this, Nate? To us, to them." He opened his mouth, but no excuse came. Instead, he looked at me, his eyes pleading. "Alara, I'm sorry. I never wanted it to go this far." "Sorry doesn't fix this," I said, my voice breaking. "You've lied to everyone. You've used your mother's money to fund a life I knew nothing about." Nate ran a hand through his hair, frustration etched on his face. "I was in over my head. I thought I could fix it before anyone found out." Lorraine shook her head, disappointment heavy in her gaze. "You've hurt so many people, Nate. This isn't something you can just fix." The conversation was interrupted by Harold's approach, his expression a mix of sorrow and anger. "What's going on here?" I hesitated, unsure of how to explain without causing more pain. But Lorraine stepped in, her voice gentle but firm. "Harold, there's something you need to know about Nate." As she spoke, revealing the truth of Nate's deceit, I watched Harold's face shift from confusion to disbelief. Diana joined us, her eyes wide with shock as the reality of Nate's betrayal sank in. Nate's shoulders slumped, the weight of his actions finally crashing down on him. "I never meant for any of this to happen," he said, his voice barely a whisper. Harold's response was cold, his words cutting through the air like a knife. "You've torn our family apart, Nate. How could you?" Confrontation left Nate reeling, his charm stripped away to reveal a man lost in his own lies. As he stood there, exposed and vulnerable, I realized that my desire for revenge had been replaced by a need for closure, for healing. But just as I thought the worst was over, an unexpected twist shattered any illusion of resolution. Diana turned to me, her voice trembling with a new revelation. "Alara, there's something else. Emily was pregnant when she passed." The words hung in the air, a new layer of betrayal that took my breath away. Nate had not only deceived us but had left a child without a father, a family without answers. I looked at Nate, my heart aching with a mix of anger and pity. "What have you done?" I asked, my voice raw with emotion. He couldn't meet my gaze, his silence a confirmation of his guilt. The situation had spiraled beyond anything I could have imagined, leaving me questioning everything I thought I knew about justice and revenge. As we left the hall, I felt Lorraine's hand on my shoulder, her presence a comforting anchor in the chaos. "We'll get through this, Alara," she said softly, her words a promise of solidarity. In that moment, I understood that justice wasn't just about retribution. It was about finding strength in the face of betrayal, about rebuilding from the ashes of trust. And as I walked away from the wreckage of Nate's lies, I knew I had the support I needed to face whatever came next. The aftermath of the funeral confrontation left me feeling hollow, as if the ground beneath me had vanished. The revelation of Emily's pregnancy was a blow I hadn't anticipated, a twist that made Nate's betrayal even more monstrous. How could I have been so blind to the man I thought I knew? Back at home, the silence was deafening. Nate had left, his absence a gaping void in the house we had shared. I wandered from room to room, each space filled with memories that now felt tainted. My mind was a storm of anger, hurt, and confusion, each emotion crashing into the next. I found myself in the kitchen, staring at the table where we'd shared countless meals. The weight of everything pressed down on me, and I sank into a chair, my head in my hands. How had it come to this? How had my life unraveled so completely? The doorbell rang, jolting me from my thoughts. I opened the door to find Tessa, her expression a mix of concern and determination. She stepped inside, pulling me into a hug that I didn't know I needed until that moment. "Elara, I'm here," she said simply, her presence a balm to my frayed nerves. We sat together, and I filled her in on the latest revelations. Her eyes widened with each new detail, disbelief etched on her face. "I can't believe he's done this," she said, shaking her head. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know," I admitted, my voice small. "I feel like I'm drowning." Tessa squeezed my hand, her grip firm and reassuring. "You're not alone, Elara. We'll figure this out together." Her words were a lifeline, but the path ahead felt impossibly daunting. As we talked, I realized that my desire for revenge had given way to a deeper need for justice. Not just for myself, but for Emily and her unborn child. But just as I thought I was beginning to find my footing, another twist sent me spiraling. My phone buzzed with a message from Lorraine, her words a fresh blow to my fragile sense of stability. "Elara, I've just received some legal papers. Nate's trying to access my accounts," the message read. I stared at the screen, disbelief turning to anger. Even now, Nate was still trying to manipulate and deceive, his desperation driving him to new lows. It was a stark reminder of just how far he'd fallen, and how far I still had to go to protect myself and those around me. I called Lorraine, my voice shaking with a mix of anger and determination. "We need to stop him, Lorraine. He can't keep getting away with this." She agreed, her voice steady despite the turmoil. "I'll do whatever it takes to protect us, Elara. We'll get through this." As I hung up, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I couldn't let Nate continue to wreak havoc on our lives. It was time to take decisive action, to ensure that he faced the consequences of his actions. The next few days were a blur of legal consultations and strategy sessions with Lorraine and Tessa. We gathered evidence, prepared statements, and fortified our defenses against Nate's attempts to further manipulate the situation. But as we worked, the weight of everything began to take its toll. I was exhausted, both physically and emotionally, the constant stress leaving me feeling frayed at the edges. Every time I thought I was making progress, another complication would arise, threatening to undo everything. One evening, as I sat alone in my living room, the enormity of it all crashed over me. I felt like I was fighting a battle I couldn't win, the odds stacked against me at every turn. The idea of justice felt like a distant dream, overshadowed by the relentless reality of Nate's deceit. In that moment, I realized I was at my lowest point. Path to reclaiming my life seemed impossibly long, the obstacles insurmountable. But even as despair threatened to overwhelm me, a small voice inside reminded me of the strength I'd found in Lorraine, Tessa, and even myself. I took a deep breath, the air filling my lungs with renewed resolve. I couldn't give up, not now. I had to keep fighting, not just for myself, but for everyone Nate had hurt. It was time to turn the tide, to reclaim my life from the chaos and find a way forward. With that thought, I rose from the couch, determination hardening my resolve. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing for certain. I wouldn't let Nate's lies define me. I was stronger than this, and I would find a way to rise above it all. The day I discovered I was pregnant was a storm of emotions. I stood in the bathroom, staring at the positive test, my mind racing. The revelation was both a blessing and a burden, a new life amidst the chaos Nate had created. Forced me to reevaluate everything, to consider not just my future but that of my unborn child. I knew I had to confront Nate one last time, not just for me, but for the life growing inside me. The thought of my child being dragged into his web of deceit was unbearable. I needed to ensure that Nate faced the consequences of his actions, not just for the past, but for the future. With Lorraine and Tessa by my side, we arranged to meet Nate at a neutral location, a park we'd once loved, now a battlefield for truth. As we arrived, the air was thick with tension, the weight of what was to come pressing down on us. Nate was already there, pacing nervously, his usual confidence replaced by a palpable anxiety. As we approached, he stopped, his eyes flicking between us, searching for answers in our expressions. "Alara, what's this about?" he asked, trying to maintain a veneer of calm. I took a deep breath, the gravity of the moment settling over me. "We need to talk, Nate. About everything." His gaze shifted to Lorraine, then Tessa, a flicker of fear in his eyes. "I've already explained. I was desperate. I didn't mean for things to get out of hand." "Desperate." Lorraine's voice was sharp, cutting through the air. "You used me, Nate. You lied to everyone." Nate's eyes pleaded with her, but Lorraine's expression was steely, unmoved by his charm. "I thought I could fix it," he said, his voice cracking. I stepped forward, my resolve unwavering. "You can't fix this, Nate. You've hurt too many people." He looked at me, his eyes searching mine for a hint of forgiveness. "Alara, please. I love you. I never wanted to lose you." The words hung between us, but they felt hollow, a last-ditch effort to salvage something from the wreckage. "Love isn't enough, Nate. Not when it's built on lies." The silence stretched, heavy with unspoken truths. I could see the wheels turning in Nate's mind, the realization that his charm and excuses would no longer save him. Then, in a move I hadn't anticipated, Nate turned to Lorraine, desperation coloring his voice. "Mom, you know I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just trying to help Alara." Lorraine's expression softened, but only slightly. "I believed in you, Nate. But you need to take responsibility." Confrontation was reaching its peak, the tension crackling like electricity. I knew it was time to reveal my final card, the one thing that changed everything. "I'm pregnant, Nate," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "And I won't let our child be part of this mess." His face blanched, the color draining as the weight of my words hit him. "Pregnant?" he echoed, disbelief mingling with something akin to fear. "Yes," I confirmed, my hand instinctively resting on my stomach. "This changes everything." The revelation shifted the dynamic, adding a new layer of complexity to the confrontation. Nate's eyes darted between us, the reality of the situation sinking in. "I want to be there for you, for our child," he said, his voice tinged with desperation. I shook my head, the decision already made. "You need to prove you can change, Nate. Until then, I can't trust you." The words were a final blow, the culmination of everything we'd been through. Nate's shoulders slumped, the fight leaving him as the reality of his actions settled over him. As we stood there, the core themes of justice and protection came into sharp focus. It wasn't just about revenge, it was about ensuring a safe future for my child, about breaking free from the cycle of deceit. With Lorraine and Tessa beside me, I knew I wasn't alone. Together, we'd face whatever came next, armed with the knowledge that we'd done everything we could to seek justice and protect those we loved. As we turned to leave, I felt a sense of closure, a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. Path ahead was uncertain, but I was ready to face it, determined to build a life grounded in truth and resilience. In the months following the confrontation, life slowly began to find its rhythm again. The storm that Nate had unleashed left scars, but it also revealed unexpected blessings and new beginnings. Community Park Project, which had once felt overshadowed by personal chaos, became my sanctuary. It was a space where I could channel my energy and passion, creating something beautiful and lasting for others. Lorraine and I grew closer, our bond forged in the fires of betrayal and resilience. She became a constant presence, offering support and wisdom as I navigated the complexities of impending motherhood. Together, we found strength in each other, a newfound family built on honesty and shared experiences. One afternoon, as we sat together in the park, Lorraine turned to me, her expression thoughtful. "You know, Alara, I've been thinking a lot about the future." I nodded, sensing the weight of her words. "What about it?" "I've decided to include you and the baby in my will," she said, her voice steady and filled with warmth. The gesture took me by surprise, a testament to the depth of our connection. "Lorraine, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," she replied, her eyes soft with affection. "You're family now, and I want to make sure you're taken care of." Her words were a balm, a reminder that even amidst the chaos, there were moments of grace and kindness. It was a resolution I hadn't anticipated, a final twist that solidified our bond and offered a sense of security for the future. As the days turned into weeks, the whispers of Nate's deceit faded, replaced by the laughter and life of the community I was helping to build. Park became a symbol of renewal, a place where people could come together and create new memories, just as I was doing. One evening, as I was leaving the office, I received a call from Harold Mercer. His voice was calm, a stark contrast to the turmoil of our last encounter. "Alara, I wanted to thank you," he said, gratitude evident in his tone, "for everything you did. It couldn't have been easy." I smiled, though he couldn't see it. "It wasn't, but I'm glad we found the truth." "There's something else," he continued, a hint of hesitation in his voice. "We've decided to start a foundation in Emily's name, to help others who might be in similar situations." The news was unexpected, a resolution that added a layer of depth to the journey we'd all been on. "That's wonderful, Harold." Emily would be proud. As I hung up, I felt a sense of closure, a realization that even in the darkest times, light could be found. It was a reminder that justice wasn't just about punishment, but about healing and growth. With the foundation of my new life solidifying, I found myself reflecting on the journey that had brought me here. The themes of revenge and justice had evolved, revealing the true power of resilience and the importance of protecting those we love. But even as I embraced the future, I knew some questions would remain unanswered. Nate's actions had left a mark, a lingering reminder of the complexity of human relationships and the choices we make. As I walked through the park, the evening sun casting long shadows, I felt the gentle flutter of life within me. It was a promise of new beginnings, a testament to the strength I'd found in adversity. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had taught me the value of truth and the power of forgiveness. And as I looked toward the future, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, I was ready to face them with courage and hope. Path wasn't always clear, but with the support of those around me, I was confident in my ability to navigate whatever came next. The story of Nate's deceit had come to an end, but my story was just beginning, filled with the promise of new life and the enduring strength of the human spirit.
The envelope landed on the bar with a soft thud, right next to the glass I was wiping. At first, I thought it was just another drunk customer trying to pay their tab in an oddly formal way. But when I looked up, the man standing there wasn't one of our regulars. He wore an expensive suit that seemed out of place in our neighborhood dive bar, and his expression was too serious for someone seeking a drink at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. My name is Eliza, and until that moment, I thought I knew exactly who I was and what my life was about. Funny how one manila envelope can change everything. "Mrs. Whitaker," he said, his voice barely audible over the afternoon crowd's chatter. "This belongs to you." Before I could correct him, I rarely used my married name at work. He turned and walked out, leaving me staring at the envelope like it might bite. I've been bartending long enough to know when something feels off, and this definitely qualified. "Hey, Sophie," I called to my coworker. "Cover me for 5. In the cramped break room that smelled perpetually of old mop water and stale beer, I sat on an upturned milk crate and opened the envelope. The first photo showed my husband James outside an unfamiliar apartment building, his arm around a woman I'd never seen before. The second showed him entering what looked like an underground casino. The third, well, let's just say the third made my hands shake so badly I had to put everything down. My phone buzzed. A text from James. "Dinner at my parents' tonight. Don't forget. Mom's making that salmon you hate." I stared at his message, trying to reconcile the James who always remembered my food preferences with the James in these photos. The James who kissed me goodbye every morning, who brought me coffee in bed on Sundays, who talked about starting a family soon. Was he the same person who apparently owed hundreds of thousands of dollars to loan sharks? The documents behind the photos told a story I wasn't ready to read. Bank statements, IOUs, and what looked like threatening letters, all painting a picture of a man I thought I knew, but clearly didn't. Eliza. Sophie's voice carried through the door. Table 4 needs another round. Coming. I shoved everything back into the envelope and stuffed it into my bag. My hands were steady now, but my mind was racing. I had choices to make, and quickly. The James the First knew would be home in 3 hours, expecting us to drive to his parents' house for another uncomfortable dinner where his mother Victoria would subtly critique everything from my career choice to my hair color. Back at the bar, I mechanically mixed drinks and made small talk, but my thoughts kept drifting to the envelope in my bag. A man at the end of the bar caught my eye, another suit, watching me too intently. When I looked again, he was gone, but a business card sat where he'd been. The card was blank except for a phone number and 2 words. For help. My phone buzzed again. James, got out of work early. Pick you up at the bar? We can head straight to Mom and Dad's. I typed and retyped my response several times before settling on. Sounds good. See you soon. The weight of the envelope in my bag felt like it was pulling me down into some dark place I wasn't sure I wanted to explore. But as I watched the afternoon sun slant through the bar's grimy windows, I knew I couldn't go back to not knowing. The truth was out there now, like a bell that couldn't be unrung. James would be here in 20 minutes. I had until then to decide. Confront him now in public, where he couldn't lie his way out of it. Or play along, go to his parents' house, smile through Victoria's backhanded compliments, and use the time to figure out just how deep this rabbit hole went. I pulled out the business card and stared at that phone number, wondering if dialing it would make things better or infinitely worse. The Whitakers' dining room always felt like a stage set, with everyone playing their assigned roles. Tonight, the familiar scene felt surreal as I sat across from James, watching him casually discuss his day at work while the weight of that envelope pressed against my ribs from inside my jacket pocket. Victoria swept in from the kitchen, carrying her signature salmon dish like it was a crown jewel. Eliza, dear, I hope you've developed a taste for proper fish since last time. Though I suppose working in that bar, you're more accustomed to fried things. I forced a smile, catching James's slight eye roll. Once, that shared moment of irritation at his mother's snobbery would have felt like us against the world. Now it just felt hollow. The salmon looks lovely, Victoria, I lied. James squeezed my knee under the table, our old signal for play nice. His hand felt foreign now, and I had to resist the urge to brush it away. Harold joined us, laptop in hand despite Victoria's no devices at dinner rule. James' son, Ryan Blake, called my office today. Something about a business proposition. I felt James tense beside me. Just a small investment opportunity, Dad. Nothing concrete yet. The same Ryan Blake who lost his real estate license last year? Victoria's perfectly shaped eyebrows arched. Really, James, you need to be more selective about your associations. Especially with your father's campaign coming up. The campaign? Everything in the Whitaker household revolved around Harold's bid for state senate lately. I wondered if they knew how their precious family image would fare if those photos got out. Speaking of associations, Victoria continued, cutting her salmon with surgical precision, I ran into Charlotte Morrison at the club today. Her daughter just made partner at Henderson and Ross. Wasn't that where you interviewed before? Choosing your current path, Eliza? Before I could respond, James's phone buzzed. He checked it under the table, his face flickering with something I wouldn't have noticed 2 hours ago. Fear? Guilt? Excuse me, he said, standing abruptly. Work call. Harold frowned. At this hour? Markets never sleep, Dad. James kissed my cheek before leaving. Another performance for his parents' benefit. Through the dining room's French doors, I could see him pacing on the terrace, gesturing animatedly. A text lit up my own phone, Mia asking if I was okay. I'd sent her a photo of one of the documents earlier, needing someone else to confirm I wasn't losing my mind. Eliza, Harold's voice pulled me back. How are things at the bar? Still finding it fulfilling. The way he said fulfilling made it sound like a terminal illness. I opened my mouth to deliver my usual defensive response about honest work, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the envelope burning a hole in my pocket, or maybe I was just tired of the script. Actually, Harold, I've been thinking about making some changes. I watched his expression shift from condescension to interest. Big changes. Victoria set down her fork. Oh, finally considering a more suitable career. Before I could elaborate, James returned, his face flushed despite the cool evening air. Sorry about that. What did I miss? Your wife was just about to share some news about her career plans, Harold said, studying me with new intensity. I met James's questioning look with a bland smile. Just thinking out loud. Nothing concrete yet. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of pointed comments and practiced responses. As we drove home, James kept glancing at me. You're quiet tonight, he said finally. Long day. I watched his hands on the steering wheel, remembering the photos of those same hands holding another woman. Hey, how's Ryan doing these days? Haven't seen him around lately. James's knuckles whitened slightly. Good, I think. Why? No reason. Just curious about that investment opportunity your dad mentioned. He changed lanes abruptly, cutting off another driver. It's nothing exciting, just some boring real estate stuff. I nodded, noting how he didn't actually answer the question. In my pocket, my phone buzzed again, probably Mia, waiting to hear if I'd confronted him yet. But I was starting to realize that this game required patience. And maybe, just maybe, I could learn to play it better than the Whitakers. Following the key James had accidentally left in his other pants was like following a trail of breadcrumbs to my own destruction. The storage facility sat on the outskirts of town, the kind of place people store things they want to forget. Or hide. You sure about this? Mia asked, her breath visible in the cold morning air. She'd called in sick to her teaching job to come with me, proving once again why she was my best friend. No, I admitted, fitting the key into the lock. But I need to know. The metal door groaned open, revealing stacks of designer boxes and what looked like casino equipment. A professional roulette wheel caught the beam of my flashlight, along with high-end poker tables folded against the wall. Holy shit, Mia whispered, picking up a Rolex box. This is worth more than my car. I was about to respond when voices echoed from around the corner. We killed the flashlight and ducked behind a stack of boxes, my heart hammering so loud I was sure it would give us away. Can't keep stalling them, James. Ryan's voice. These aren't the kind of people who accept excuses. I know. James sounded desperate in a way I'd never heard before. But if my father finds out before the campaign launch, your father's campaign will be the least of your problems if you don't pay up. And what about Rebecca? Keep your voice down, James hissed. No one can know about her. Especially not Eliza. My fingers dug into Mia's arm. Rebecca. The woman from the photos had a name now. Yeah, well, Rebecca's getting impatient too. Says she's tired of being your dirty little secret. I'll handle it. I just need time to move some things around, maybe sell some of this stuff. Their voices faded as they walked away. I waited until their footsteps disappeared completely before letting out the breath I'd been holding. Eliza. Mia started. Don't. I stood up, my legs shaky. Just. Help me look around. We found more than I was ready for. Credit card statements showing massive cash advances. Loan documents with interest rates that made my stomach turn. A shoebox full of letters from someone named Rebecca, each one more intimate than the last. But it was the document at the bottom of a filing cabinet that made my blood run cold. Papers for a second mortgage on our house, with what looked like my forged signature. I'm calling the police, Mia declared, pulling out her phone. Wait! I grabbed her wrist. We need to be smart about this. The Whitakers have half the police force in their pocket. Then what's your plan? Because this isn't just about affairs anymore, Eliza. This is fraud. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Victoria. Brunch tomorrow at the club. Non-negotiable. Harold has news about James's promotion. I stared at the message, something clicking into place. The promotion James had been hinting at, the one that would finally prove himself to his father. The one that would give him access to the company's accounts. We need to document everything, I said, starting to take photos. But we can't let them know we know. Not yet. Why not? Because tomorrow at brunch, Harold's going to announce James's promotion to CFO of the family company. And I need to understand exactly what they're planning before I blow it all up. Mia helped me carefully return everything to its exact position. As we locked up, she touched my arm. You're scary when you're plotting revenge, you know that? I thought about James and Rebecca, about Victoria's constant condescension, about Harold's political ambitions built on his perfect family image, about my forged signature on that mortgage. They have no idea what scary is, I said, pocketing the key. But they're about to find out. On the drive home, I got another text from that mysterious number on the business card. Ready to talk now? I thought about James's desperate voice in the storage unit, about Rebecca's letters. about all the lies wrapped in designer boxes and tied with perfect bows. The Whitakers had taught me well how to keep up appearances. Now it was time to use those lessons against them. I typed back one word. Yes. The mysterious number belonged to a private investigator named Diana Chen. We met at a coffee shop 2 towns over, where she laid out everything she'd uncovered about James's double life in a neat manila folder, much thicker than the one I'd received at the bar. Your husband's been busy, Diana said, sliding surveillance photos across the table. Rebecca Mitchell, 26, works at the casino where he's dropped nearly $500,000 in the past year. I sipped my now-cold coffee, studying the woman who'd been sharing my husband's bed. She was beautiful in an obvious way, like a warning sign you couldn't miss. The casino connection explains the equipment in the storage unit. That's not even the interesting part. Diana pulled out more documents. The casino's owned by a shell company. Guess who's the majority shareholder? Harold. I said, the pieces clicking into place. Bingo. Your father-in-law's been using it to launder money for years. James's gambling debts? They're real, but they're also cover for something bigger. My phone buzzed, James asking where I was. I ignored it. Why are you showing me all this? I asked. Who hired you? Diana's smile was sharp. Let's just say Harold Whitaker's political ambitions have made him some powerful enemies. People who'd love to see his campaign derailed before it begins. I was about to press for more details when I spotted Ryan Blake through the coffee shop window, walking past. I ducked instinctively, but he'd already seen me. The bell above the door chimed. Eliza? Funny running into you here. Diana smoothly gathered the photos while I forced a smile. Ryan. Just getting coffee with a friend. His eyes flickered between us, lingering on Diana's briefcase. James mentioned you've been acting strange lately. Said you're not sleeping well. Work stress, I lied. You know how it is. Sure. He checked his phone. Hey, speaking of James, we're meeting for drinks later at Murphy's. You should join us. Can't. Covering someone's shift. The lie came easily now. After Ryan left, Diana leaned forward. He'll tell James about seeing you here. I know. I stood up, decision made. Which means I need to confront James tonight, before he spins this into something else. That's not wise, Diana warned. We need more time to. No. I'm done waiting. I grabbed my coat. But I might need your help later. At home, I found James in his study, phone pressed to his ear. He ended the call when he saw me. Hey babe. Rough day. He tried to kiss me, but I stepped back. Who's Rebecca Mitchell? The change in his expression was subtle. A tightening around the eyes, a slight clench of his jaw. Who? Don't. My voice cracked. Just. Don't lie to me. Not anymore. He sank into his chair, running his hands through his hair. His tell when he's calculating his next move. It's not what you think. Really? Because I think you're sleeping with a casino employee while gambling away our future and committing fraud with your father's help. His head snapped up. What did you say? The storage unit, James. The forged mortgage documents. The shell company. I know everything. He stood slowly, something dangerous flickering in his eyes. Who have you been talking to? Does it matter? It matters if you're threatening my father's campaign. He moved closer, his charm replaced by something colder. Do you have any idea what you're getting involved in? Are you threatening me? I'm trying to protect you. He grabbed my arm. Whatever you think you know. I yanked away. Don't touch me. Eliza, please. His voice softened, but his eyes stayed hard. We can fix this. I'll explain everything. Like you explained the mortgage? Or the gambling debts? Or Rebecca? If you just let me. I want a divorce. The words hung between us like a loaded gun. James laughed, but it wasn't the warm sound I'd fallen in love with years ago. No, he said simply. You don't. Excuse me. Think carefully about your next move, Eliza. He straightened his tie, mask firmly back in place. You're not the only one who can gather evidence. As I watched him walk away, I realized Diana was right. I should have waited. But now the game had changed, and I needed to figure out what James meant by that last threat before he made his next move. The Whitakers' annual charity gala was in full swing when I spotted Rebecca Mitchell working the high-stakes poker table. She dealt cards with practiced grace, her eyes occasionally drifting to where James stood with his father, charming potential campaign donors. Everything's ready, Diana murmured, appearing beside me in her catering uniform. Just say the word. I smoothed down my borrowed designer dress, another prop in this elaborate performance. Not yet. Harold's watching. Indeed, my father-in-law hadn't taken his eyes off me since I'd arrived. He'd cornered me earlier, his campaign smile firmly in place. I trust you've reconsidered your emotional response to certain situations, he'd said. Family unity is crucial right now. The implied threat wasn't subtle. Victoria floated through the crowd, orchestrating her perfect evening. She paused at my elbow. Darling, you simply must meet Senator Collins. He's fascinated by your unique perspective on working-class issues. Before I could respond, a commotion erupted at Rebecca's table. A drunk player was accusing her of cheating, his voice carrying across the ballroom. James moved to intervene but caught himself. He couldn't acknowledge knowing her. I watched Rebecca's face flash with hurt before hardening into something else. She reached under the table. Now, I said to Diana. The fire alarm shrieked to life. As water rained from the sprinklers, chaos erupted. Designer dresses and expensive suits scattered like startled birds. Through the confusion, I saw Rebecca slip something into her pocket and disappear through a service door. Eliza! James grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the exit. We need to. Get your hands off my wife. The drunk player was back, swaying but determined. Yeah, I know all about you too. James's grip tightened painfully. Sir, you're confused. Am I? Tell that to my investment portfolio. Tell that to. Harold appeared, security guards in tow. Remove this man. Now. But the damage was done. Whispers rippled through the crowd. I caught fragments. Gambling. Affair. Campaign funds. Victoria's face was ashen. Harold, do something. In the chaos, I slipped away, following Rebecca's path. I found her in the empty kitchen, calmly counting what looked like casino chips. He'll never choose you, I said. She didn't look surprised to see me. I don't need him to. I've got what I came for. She held up a USB drive. Insurance policy. Want a copy? Before I could answer, James burst in. He froze, looking between us. Rebecca. Save it, she cut him off. I quit, by the way. But don't worry, I'm keeping my benefits. She patted her pocket meaningfully. James lunged for her, mask finally cracking. I stepped between them. Touch her, I said quietly, and everything I know goes public tonight. You don't understand what you're doing, he hissed. Dad's enemies are the least of your problems. Harold's voice boomed from the doorway. He looked at Rebecca. Whatever she's paying you, I'll double it. Rebecca laughed. Bold of you to assume she's the one who hired me. The implications hung heavy in the air. Harold's campaign smile slipped just slightly. James, he said, handle your wife. Now, like he handled the mortgage fraud? I asked sweetly. Or the money laundering? Harold's mask cracked completely. You stupid girl. You think this is about affairs and gambling? You have no idea what you're playing with. Actually, Diana said, stepping out of the shadows with her phone recording, I think she does. The kitchen door burst open again, Victoria, followed by several serious-looking men who definitely weren't security guards. Harold, she said, voice shaking, the SEC is here. I watched the mighty Whitakers freeze like deer in headlights. James reached for me one last time. Eliza, please. Whatever you think you know. I know enough. I stepped back, letting Diana's phone capture everything. And now, so does everyone else. As federal agents filled the kitchen, I caught Victoria's eye. For a moment, something passed between us, understanding maybe, or recognition. Then she turned away, already crafting tomorrow's damage control story. I walked out of the kitchen, out of the venue, and into the rain-soaked night. Behind me, the Whitaker empire began to crumble. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. The morning after the gala, I woke up to find my bank accounts frozen and an eviction notice on my apartment door. The Whitakers worked fast. I had to give them that. My phone rang. Diana, don't go home. They're waiting for you. Too late. Through my window, I spotted two men in dark suits watching my building. Not SEC agents this time. These ones had a different energy. More dangerous. What's happening? I asked Diana. Harold's connections run deeper than we thought. These aren't just white-collar crimes we're dealing with. My other line beeped, Mia. I just got fired, she said when I switched over. They're saying I helped steal confidential documents. Eliza, what's going on? My stomach dropped. They were going after everyone I cared about. I grabbed my emergency bag, packed days ago, thank God, and slipped out the fire escape. As I hit the alley, a familiar voice stopped me. Going somewhere? Ryan stepped out of the shadows, looking nothing like James's party boy friend now. The Whitakers want to talk. Funny way of showing it. You have no idea what you've stepped into. He moved closer. That USB drive Rebecca took? It's got account numbers. Names. Things that could get people killed. People like me? People like your friend Mia. Her sister in rehab. Her mother in the nursing home. He shrugged. Accidents happen. My hands shook as I typed out a text to Diana. They're threatening Mia's family. Let me help you, Ryan said softly. There's still a way out. Why would you help me? Because I'm tired of cleaning up James's messes. Because Harold's empire is built on bodies. Because, he stopped as headlights swept the alley. A black SUV pulled up. James stepped out looking haunted. Eliza, please. Just get in the car. So your father can make me disappear? So I can protect you. He ran his hands through his hair. That familiar tell, but now it seemed pathetic. Everything I did, all of it, was to protect you. The affair with Rebecca? The forged mortgage? You don't understand. Dad's partners. They own people. They own me. I thought if I played along, kept them happy, I could keep you safe. By drowning in gambling debts? By sleeping with their plant. Rebecca works for them, not us. She. James stopped, realizing he'd said too much. My phone buzzed. Diana. Don't trust Ryan. He's playing both sides. I looked at Ryan, who watched our exchange too carefully. At James, who'd sold his soul piece by piece to men who collected them like trading cards. The SEC raid, I said slowly. That was staged, wasn't it? To flush out whoever was really investigating. James's silence was answer enough. More headlights. Another SUV. Harold stepped out, Victoria behind him. Enough games, Harold said. The drive, Eliza. Now. I don't have it. Then call Rebecca. Make the trade. Trade for what? Your friend Mia's safety. Your freedom. Pick one. Victoria touched Harold's arm. Dear, perhaps. Quiet. He snapped. This ends tonight. My phone buzzed one last time. Diana. In position. Your call. I looked at my husband, this stranger I'd loved. At Ryan, playing every angle. At Harold and Victoria, their perfect facade cracking under pressure. You're right, I said. It does end tonight. I pressed send on a pre-written message. Somewhere across town, Diana would be releasing everything. Not just to the SEC, but to every news outlet, every law enforcement agency. Every rival of Harold's who'd been waiting for him to fall. What did you do? James whispered. Sirens wailed in the distance. Real ones this time. I chose option 3. I said, as red and blue lights began to flash at both ends of the alley. I chose the truth. Harold's face contorted with rage. He reached into his jacket, but Ryan was faster, drawing a gun. Federal agent, he said, his badge appearing in his other hand. Everyone on the ground. Now. As the alley erupted in chaos, I realized this wasn't the end at all. It was just the beginning of a much bigger war. The safe house felt anything but safe. I sat across from Harold Whitaker in a sparse federal protection room, watching him try to negotiate his way out of hell one last time. You're smarter than this, Eliza, he said, sliding a document across the table. Sign it. Walk away with enough money to start fresh. Everyone wins. Ryan stood in the corner, his federal badge glinting under fluorescent lights. Diana sat beside me, reviewing the contract's language. It's a trap, she murmured. The clause about prior knowledge, it makes you complicit in everything they did before you came forward. Of course it does, I said loud enough for Harold to hear. Because this isn't about money. It's about finding a scapegoat. Harold's campaign smile flickered. You're overlooking the bigger picture. James is cooperating with federal investigators, Ryan cut in. He's trading everything he knows about your operation for a reduced sentence. The news hit Harold like a physical blow. His mask slipped completely, revealing something ugly underneath. My own son wouldn't dare. The door opened. Victoria swept in, looking perfectly composed despite everything. He already has Harold. It's over. I watched them carefully, remembering every subtle dig, every backhanded compliment, every moment they'd made me feel small. But Victoria's next words shocked me. Sign it, Eliza, she said softly. Not for Harold. For me. Victoria, Harold warned. No. She straightened, something fierce in her eyes. I won't let you destroy another young woman to save yourself. The room went still. Harold's face darkened. What did you do? I gave Diana the original documents. From 20 years ago. About Sarah. The name meant nothing to me, but Harold went pale. You swore. I swore to protect our family, Victoria snapped. I watched you drive Sarah to suicide to protect your first campaign. I won't watch you do it again. My phone buzzed. A message from Rebecca. USB drive uploaded. Check the news. Harold's phone chimed next. Then Ryan's. Then Diana's. A cascade of notifications as 20 years of buried secrets surfaced. You could have had a clean exit, Harold said, his voice deadly quiet. Now you'll lose everything. No, I replied, standing. You will. The door burst open again. James stumbled in, looking haunted. Dad, they're here. All of them. Press, FBI, everyone. Harold lunged for the contract, but Ryan was faster. That's federal evidence now. Evidence of what? I asked Victoria. Of how many lives he's destroyed, she said. Sarah was like you. Married to a Whitaker man, discovered the truth, threatened to expose it. Harold arranged for her death to look like suicide. I helped cover it up. She met my eyes. I won't do it again. James moved toward me. Eliza, Save it. I cut him off. You're not the victim here. But I am trying to make it right, he said. Everything I told them about Dad's partners, the laundering, all of it, it's true. Harold's composure finally shattered. He reached into his jacket, but this time Victoria was faster. She grabbed his arm, the gun clattering to the floor. Enough, she said firmly. It's done. As federal agents flooded the room, I watched the mighty Harold Whitaker collapse into a chair, defeated not by his enemies, but by his own family. Victoria touched my arm as she passed. I should have done this 20 years ago. For Sarah. For all of us. Why now? I asked. She smiled sadly. Because you reminded me of who I used to be. Before I let fear make me complicit. As they led Harold away, James tried one last time. I did love you, you know. I thought about the scared bartender I'd been just weeks ago, desperate for approval from a family built on lies. I know, I said. But love isn't enough when it's wrapped in betrayal. Through the window, camera flashes lit up the night like lightning. The Whitaker Empire was falling, and I was finally free of its ruins. But something in Victoria's eyes told me there were more storms ahead. 6 months after the Whitaker Empire crumbled, I found myself back behind a bar. But this time it was my own. The insurance money from Sarah's case had helped me buy the place, a small irony I appreciated every time I opened the doors. Mia sat at the counter, grading papers from her new teaching job across town. Have you seen the news? James took the plea deal. I nodded, polishing glasses more carefully than necessary. 5 years for his role in Harold's schemes. His testimony had helped bring down bigger players, including some of Harold's mysterious partners. The press called it justice. I wasn't sure what to call it anymore. The door chimed. Diana walked in, looking more relaxed in civilian clothes. She'd left the agency after everything, started her own security consulting firm. Speaking of news, she said, sliding a thick envelope across the bar. Victoria's letter arrived at the safe address. My hands didn't shake as I opened it. They hadn't shaken in months. Inside was a deed to a small beach house, along with a handwritten note. Sarah would have wanted you to have this. It's where she was happiest, before Harold destroyed her. Before I helped him do it. Make better memories there than we did. There's more, Diana said quietly. A photograph fell out. A younger Victoria stood on that same beach, arm around a woman who could have been my sister. Same wild hair, same defiant smile. Sarah, turn it over, Mia whispered. On the back in faded ink. Sarah and Victoria, sisters, summer before the wedding. The pieces clicked into place. Victoria hadn't just covered up Sarah's death. She'd helped destroy her own sister to protect Harold's ambitions. No wonder she'd seen herself in me. My phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. Harold's partners are making moves. Watch your back. You need to be careful, Diana warned. The story isn't over just because Harold's in prison. It's never really over, is it? I poured 3 drinks. But I'm not that scared bartender anymore. The door chimed again. Rebecca walked in, turning heads like always. But now she wore a federal marshal's badge under her leather jacket. Got room for one more? She asked, taking the empty seat beside Diana. Witness protection gets lonely. I poured a 4th glass. We sat in comfortable silence, for women whose lives had been tangled and transformed by the Whitakers' web of lies. To Sarah, Victoria's voice came from the doorway. She looked older, softer somehow, without her society armor. And to Truth, however late it comes. I studied her face, my almost aunt, in another life. She'd lost everything. Her husband to prison, her son to his choices, her position in society. But something in her eyes looked lighter. Join us, I asked. She sat, accepting the drink I poured. I'm selling the mansion, she said. Using the money to start a foundation for women trapped in abusive relationships, financial abuse, emotional manipulation, all of it. Sarah's legacy? Mia suggested. Victoria's eyes welled up. Yes, exactly that. My phone buzzed again. Another warning from Ryan about Harold's old associates. Another reminder that some stories don't end cleanly. But looking around at these women, each broken and rebuilt by the same storm, I realized maybe that was the point. We weren't just survivors of the Whitakers' destruction. We were the ones who would make sure it never happened again. To Sarah's legacy, I raised my glass. And to the stories we choose to write next. As we drank, I caught Victoria's eye. There was something there, regret, hope, determination. A promise maybe to do better this time. To be better. Outside, the sun set over my small piece of rebuilt life. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats from Harold's old world. But tonight, in this moment, surrounded by unlikely allies and hard-won wisdom, I was exactly where I needed to be. The Whitakers had taught me how to survive their world. Now it was time to learn how to truly live in my own.
The photograph stared back at me from my laptop screen, mocking everything I thought I knew about my life. My husband Nathan, the father of my children, down on one knee in front of a woman who wasn't me. The image had appeared in my social media feed, shared by a mutual friend who clearly had no idea what they were exposing. I'm Brooke, and until 30 seconds ago, I was just another suburban mom juggling a photography career with raising 2 kids. Now I'm someone else entirely. Someone with trembling hands and a throat full of bile. Mom, have you seen my blue sweater? Emma's voice floated down from upstairs, yanking me back to reality. I slammed the laptop shut so hard it might have cracked. Check the laundry room, honey. My voice didn't shake. 14 years of motherhood had taught me how to lie convincingly when necessary. The timestamp on the photo showed it was taken 3 days ago, while Nathan was supposedly at a sales conference in Chicago. The woman was young, probably early 30s, with the kind of carefully curated Instagram-perfect appearance that made my stomach turn. The ring in Nathan's hand caught the light just right, probably worth 3 months of his salary, just like the one he'd given me 15 years ago. My phone buzzed. Nathan's face appeared on the screen, his weekly Thursday check-in right on schedule. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hey, how's Chicago? The words tasted like poison. Exhausting. Back-to-back meetings all day. Miss you guys though. His voice was warm, practiced. How many times had he fed me these lines? The kids miss you too. I opened my laptop again, staring at his face in the photo. The same smile he was probably wearing right now while lying to my face. When do you fly back? Saturday afternoon like we planned. Listen, I've got to run to another meeting. Give Emma and Lucas a kiss for me. Of course. I ended the call before he could say, I love you. Some lies I couldn't stomach hearing right now. The house felt different suddenly, like all our family photos were mocking me from their frames. 15 years of memories, each one now tainted with doubt. How long had this been going on? How many business trips weren't really business trips at all? My camera bag sat in the corner of my home office, filled with thousands of dollars worth of equipment I used to capture other people's perfect moments. The irony wasn't lost on me. Mom! Lucas appeared in the doorway, my 11-year-old son clutching his math homework. Can you help me with these word problems? I forced a smile. Sure, buddy. Pull up a chair. As I helped Lucas work through his multiplication tables, my mind raced through the past few months. The new cologne, the gym membership, the late meetings and networking events. All the classic signs I'd been too trusting to question. My phone buzzed again, a text this time. Nathan had sent a photo of himself at what looked like a conference center, complete with a generic, "Wish you were here" message. The timestamp showed it was taken yesterday. My fingers hovered over the screen, tempted to send back the proposal photo with a simple, "Wish I was there too." But no, that would be too easy, too quick. Nathan had spent months, maybe years, crafting his perfect double life. His careful lies deserved an equally careful unraveling. Mom? Earth to Mom. Lucas waved his hand in front of my face. Is 7 times 8 56? Yes, sweetheart. That's exactly right. I squeezed his shoulder, suddenly fierce with protective love. Whatever happened next, I had to handle it carefully. Emma and Lucas didn't deserve to have their world shattered as brutally as mine had been. I reached for my phone again, scrolling through my contacts until I found Rick Davidson, private investigator. We'd worked together on a few corporate events where I'd been the photographer.
He owed me a favor. It was time to start gathering evidence. Nathan thought he was the only one who could play this game. He was about to learn otherwise. Rick's office smelled like stale coffee and old paper. He hadn't changed since the last corporate event I'd photographed for him. Same worn leather chair. Same knowing smile that said he'd seen it all before. 2 phones, I said, sliding Nathan's phone bill across his desk. One's registered to his company, the other's personal. But there's a third number that keeps showing up on both bills. Rick picked up the papers, his eyes scanning the highlighted sections. How long has he been using separate phones? 6 months, maybe longer. That's as far back as I could access the records. My fingers drummed against the armrest, a nervous habit I couldn't shake. I need to know everything, Rick. Where he goes, who he meets, what lies he's telling. Surveillance isn't cheap, Brooke. I pulled out my camera bag. I've got 3 wedding shoots booked this month. I can pay. Emma's text lit up my phone. Dad's coming home early. Says he's bringing presents. My stomach clenched. Nathan wasn't due back until tomorrow. Another deviation from his carefully planned schedule. They were happening more frequently now. I need to go, I said, standing up. My husband's about to perform his returning hero act. Rick's expression softened. Be careful, Brooke. People who live double lives, they notice when things change. Don't tip your hand too early. I arrived home just as Nathan's car pulled into the driveway. He emerged carrying shopping bags, wearing a new suit I didn't recognize. The kids rushed out to greet him while I hung back, watching through my photographer's eye. The composition was perfect. Successful father, loving children, beautiful home. But the edges were blurring, reality bleeding through like overexposed film. Missed you guys too much to stay away, Nathan announced, hugging Emma and Lucas. He approached me with that familiar smile, the one I used to trust. And I missed you most of all. His kiss felt like betrayal. His new cologne mixed with something else. A floral scent that definitely wasn't mine. You're home early, I said, keeping my voice light. Everything okay at the conference? Wrapped up sooner than expected. He handed me a small box from one of the bags. Thought you might like this. Inside was an expensive camera lens, the exact model I'd mentioned wanting months ago. He'd been listening then, planning ahead, building his alibis with careful attention to detail. It's perfect, I lied, matching his performance. Thank you. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, I watched Nathan unpack. New shirts, carefully folded. A receipt for a restaurant I didn't recognize. His movements were practiced, efficient, a man used to compartmentalizing his life. The conference center looked nice in your photo, I said, testing the waters. Where was it again? The Marriott downtown. He didn't look up from his suitcase. Standard corporate setup. I thought of the proposal photo, definitely not taken at any Marriott. Must have been exhausting, all those meetings. You have no idea. He finally met my eyes, and for a moment I saw something flicker there. Guilt? Fear? I'm just glad to be home. My phone buzzed, a text from Rick. Meeting tomorrow. Found something interesting. Everything okay? Nathan asked, noticing my expression. Just work stuff. A client wanting to reschedule. The lies came easier now, flowing both ways in our marriage like poison in the groundwater. Emma appeared in the doorway, her artist's eye taking in the scene. Dad, your new suit looks expensive. Company's doing well, sweetheart. Thought I deserved a treat. I watched our daughter process this, saw the slight furrow in her brow. She was 14, old enough to sense when things didn't add up. I needed to move carefully, protect her and Lucas from whatever explosion was coming. Nathan's phone chimed, the other one, the one he thought I didn't know about. He glanced at it casually, but his shoulders tensed. Work never stops, he said with a forced laugh, stepping into the hallway to answer it. I met Emma's questioning gaze and managed a smile. Why don't you show me that new sketch you were working on? Tomorrow Rick would tell me exactly who was on the other end of that call. But tonight I had to keep playing my part in this fractured family portrait. The manila envelope sat between us on Rick's desk like a loaded gun. His expression told me everything before he even opened it. Olivia Reeves, he said, sliding out a series of photographs. 30 years old. Marketing director at Clayton Industries. She's been seeing Nathan for at least 18 months. Each photo was like a knife twist. Nathan and Olivia at restaurants I'd never been to, holding hands in a park across town, entering an apartment building I didn't recognize. The timestamps marched backward through months of betrayal. The apartment's in her name, Rick continued. But Nathan's been paying the rent through a shell company. He's not as careful with his digital footprint as he thinks. My hands didn't shake anymore when I looked at the evidence. That surprised me. The ring in the proposal photo? Purchased 3 weeks ago. Tiffany's. He used his business account. I thought of the camera lens he'd bought me. His guilt wrapped in expensive glass and metal. What else? Rick hesitated. There's something you should know about Clayton Industries. They're about to announce a merger with Nathan's company. He's been leading the negotiations. The pieces clicked together with nauseating clarity. She's not just his mistress. She's his ticket to a promotion. The merger goes public next month. The timing of the proposal makes everything look legitimate. I finished his thought. No one questions the executive marrying the marketing director after a merger. They just assume they met during negotiations. My phone buzzed, Emma asking if I'd be home for dinner. Nathan was cooking, apparently, playing the devoted husband while his carefully constructed new life took shape. There's more, Rick said quietly. Olivia's pregnant. 8 weeks. The room tilted sideways. I gripped the edge of Rick's desk, feeling the rough wood under my fingers, anchoring myself to something solid while my world spun apart. Does she know? My voice sounded distant. About me? About the kids? No. Nathan told her he's been separated for a year, living in a guest house on the property to help with the children's transition. Rick's disgust was evident. She thinks he's being noble. I gathered the photos, my photographer's eye noting the technical details to avoid processing the content. Good composition, natural light, clear focus on the betrayal. I need copies of everything, I said. And I need to know exactly when they're meeting next. Brooke. Rick's voice held a warning. Whatever you're planning. I'm not planning anything yet. The lie came easily. I just need to know. At home, Nathan was in the kitchen teaching Lucas how to make pasta from scratch. Flour dusted his expensive shirt. Emma sat at the counter sketching the scene. The perfect family moment, staged by a master manipulator. There's my beautiful wife, Nathan smiled, coming over to kiss me. I turned my head slightly, making it land on my cheek. A small rebellion, but his slight frown told me he noticed. How was your shoot? He asked, returning to the pasta maker. Illuminating. I watched him roll the dough thinner. Actually, I've been thinking about expanding the business. Maybe doing some corporate work. Nathan's hands paused for a fraction of a second. Oh, Clayton Industries is looking for a new photographer for their annual report. Thought I might submit a portfolio. The pasta maker cranked to a stop. Nathan's knuckles whitened on the handle. That's ambitious, he said carefully. But maybe stick to what you know best? Wedding photography is your strength. Emma looked up from her sketch, her artist's eye catching the tension. I think Mom should go for it. Her corporate shots are amazing. Thanks, sweetie. I held Nathan's gaze. Sometimes it's good to step out of your comfort zone. Try something new. Don't you agree, honey? He forced a smile. We'll discuss it later. That night, I lay awake listening to Nathan's steady breathing beside me. 8 weeks pregnant. A new life growing while our old one crumbled. I thought about Olivia, probably lying awake too, dreaming of her future with a man who excelled at selling beautiful lies. My phone lit up with a text from Rick. Tomorrow. Lunch meeting at the Grove. 1 p.m. I turned off the phone and closed my eyes, already planning my next move. Nathan wasn't the only one who could play a long game. The Grove buzzed with the lunch crowd as I positioned myself at a corner table, camera in hand. Just another photographer working on her portfolio. The perfect cover for watching my husband meet his pregnant mistress. Jenna slid into the seat across from me, right on schedule. Are you sure about this? Keep your voice down. I adjusted my lens, framing the entrance. You're here to make this look like a business meeting, remember? Brooke. Her hand covered my camera. You're shaking. I was. The weight of Rick's latest revelation still pressed against my chest. This morning's manila envelope had contained bank statements showing Nathan had been siphoning money from our joint accounts for months. College funds, retirement savings, all quietly disappearing into offshore accounts. He's not just betraying me, I said, moving Jenna's hand away. He's stealing our children's future. The lunch crowd parted and there they were. Nathan in his tailored suit, Olivia in a cream dress that didn't quite hide her small bump. They looked like something out of a magazine spread. The successful executive and his beautiful young fiancée. Through my viewfinder, I watched them settle at their table. Nathan pulled out her chair just like he used to do for me. Their hands met across the table, wedding rings conspicuously absent. Emma asked me this morning if everything was okay between her father and me, I said, keeping my voice steady as I clicked the shutter. She's not sleeping well. Says the house feels different. Kids always know, Jenna murmured. Even when we think we're protecting them. Nathan leaned in close to Olivia, showing her something on his phone. Her face lit up with joy. Wedding venues, maybe. Or nursery designs. My camera captured it all. Evidence of happiness built on stolen dreams. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Mom, can we talk when you get home? It's important. I need to end this, I said, lowering the camera. Before Emma and Lucas get hurt even more. What are you thinking? I watched Nathan signal for the check, his other hand still entwined with Olivia's. The merger announcement is in 3 weeks. Nathan's planning to move out right after. Make it look like an amicable separation. How do you know? Because I found the lease agreement for his new place. Signed last week, starting next month. 3 bedrooms. Space for a nursery. Jenna's sharp intake of breath matched the twist in my gut. That son of a... But he doesn't know that I know about Clayton Industries, I continued, my voice hardening. Or about the pregnancy. Or the money. Brooke. Jenna's warning tone was back. The Clayton family is hosting their annual charity gala next weekend. Nathan will be there with his executive team, presenting the merger details to the board. And I just got hired as their event photographer. I smiled, but there was nothing warm in it. Apparently, someone showed them my portfolio. Nathan and Olivia were standing now, preparing to leave. He helped her with her coat. Another familiar gesture twisted into something painful. You're going to expose them at the gala? Jenna asked, horror creeping into her voice. No. I packed away my camera, my movements precise and controlled. I'm going to give Nathan exactly what he wants. The perfect public image. The successful businessman. The devoted family man. I don't understand. The higher he climbs, the harder he'll fall. I stood up, watching my husband guide his pregnant mistress through the restaurant. And I'm going to make sure everyone is watching when he does. My phone buzzed again. Emma sending a follow-up text. Found something in Dad's office. Need to show you. The timing couldn't have been worse. Or better. Emma was already piecing things together. Maybe it was time to stop protecting her from the truth and start preparing her for what was coming. You know this will change everything, Jenna said softly. Once you start this, everything's already changed. I shouldered my camera bag, my decision crystallizing. Nathan just doesn't know it yet. Emma's discovery lay on my desk like a live grenade. A second phone, sleek and black, hidden behind Nathan's filing cabinet. She'd found it while looking for art supplies in his office. The screen was locked, but it didn't matter. I already knew what it contained. I didn't mean to snoop, Emma said, perched on the edge of my chair. But Dad's been acting weird, and I thought, you're not the one who did anything wrong. I wrapped an arm around her shoulders, feeling her slight trembles. Thank you for showing me. The Clayton Industries gala invitation sat next to the phone, its gold embossing catching the afternoon light. 3 days away. Nathan had already announced he'd be working late that night, laying his alibis with practiced care. My phone buzzed. Rick's latest update. Olivia's parents confirmed for the gala. Board members too. Everyone who matters will be there. Mom. Emma's voice pulled me back. Are you and Dad getting divorced? The question hung between us, sharp as broken glass. Before I could answer, the front door opened. Nathan's footsteps in the hallway. Lucas's excited voice greeting him. We'll talk later, I whispered, squeezing Emma's hand. Everything's going to be okay. Nathan appeared in the doorway, his smile faltering slightly at finding us in his office. What's going on here? Emma's helping me prep for the Clayton shoot, I said smoothly, sliding the second phone under some papers. I wanted her artistic eye on some composition ideas. Right, the gala. He loosened his tie, watching us carefully. Maybe it's not the best timing. With everything going on at the company, everything's arranged. I stood, meeting his gaze. The Clayton family specifically requested me. A muscle twitched in his jaw. Did they? Mom's the best, Emma declared, her voice carrying a hint of challenge that made me proud and terrified at the same time. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat in my darkroom developing photos from the Grove. Nathan and Olivia's lunch meeting emerged in stark blacks and whites, their intimacy captured in chemical precision, evidence of betrayal floating in developer fluid. My phone lit up, Jenna checking in. Still going through with it? I studied the image of Nathan leaning in close to Olivia, his expression softer than any look he'd given me in months. The next photo showed them leaving together, his hand protective at her back. The final shot. Olivia touching her barely visible bump while Nathan smiled. My reply to Jenna was simple. Yes. The gala invitation seemed to pulse with possibility. Nathan thought he was orchestrating the perfect exit, the merger announcement first, then the carefully managed revelation of his new relationship. A clean break professionally packaged. But he didn't know about the USB drive I'd prepared, loaded with bank statements, phone records, and photos. Didn't know I'd already spoken to Clayton Industries board secretary, sharing concerns about financial irregularities I'd noticed while preparing for the event. Footsteps in the hallway made me freeze. Nathan's shadow paused outside the darkroom door. Working late. His voice carried through the barrier. Just finishing some proofs. I slipped the incriminating photos into a folder. Big event coming up. A long pause. Brooke, maybe we should talk. About what? Another pause. About the future. Changes coming up. My hand tightened on the folder. Sounds serious. It is. His shadow shifted. But not tonight. After the gala, okay? Everything will make more sense then. I thought of Emma's question about divorce, of Lucas's confused looks at dinner, of Olivia's growing bump and Nathan's secret phone. Yes, I said quietly. Everything will make sense after the gala. His footsteps retreated, leaving me alone with my photographs and plans. 3 days until the Clayton family's annual charity event. 3 days until Nathan's carefully constructed world shattered like a dropped lens. I touched the USB drive in my pocket, feeling its weight like a trigger waiting to be pulled. The time for hesitation was over. Nathan had chosen his path. Now I would choose mine. The Clayton Industries gala sparkled with wealth and pretense. Through my camera lens, I captured it all. The forced smiles, the calculated handshakes, the subtle power plays disguised as small talk. Nathan worked the room like the master performer he was, his charm dialed up to maximum. I kept shooting, each click of the shutter marking time until the moment everything would change. Mrs. Harrison? A young assistant appeared at my elbow. Mr. Clayton requests your presence in the boardroom. Something about additional shots of the executive team. Perfect timing. I touched the USB drive in my camera bag, nodding. Of course. The boardroom doors opened to reveal Nathan at the head of the table, mid-presentation. Olivia sat to his right, her cream dress carefully arranged to hide her growing secret. The Clayton family occupied the other end, along with key board members. Brooke. Nathan's smile flickered slightly. We're just wrapping up the merger presentation. I raised my camera, moving around the room. Click. Nathan's hand brushing Olivia's shoulder. Click. The engagement ring she tried to hide. Click. The faces of people about to witness a carefully constructed life implode. Before we conclude, I said, lowering my camera, I have some additional materials the board should review. Nathan's expression shifted. This isn't the time. It's exactly the time. I pulled out the USB drive, but before I could hand it over, the boardroom door burst open. Emma stood there breathless with Lucas right behind her. My heart stopped. Mom, wait. Emma's voice cracked. You can't do this. The room froze. Nathan's face drained of color. Olivia's hand moved protectively to her stomach. Emma, Lucas, you shouldn't be here. Nathan stood, trying to take control. How did you even? We followed Mom, Lucas said. We knew something was wrong. My carefully planned revenge crumbled as I watched my children's faces. They knew. They'd known all along. And now they were here to witness everything fall apart. Perhaps we should take a break, Mr. Clayton suggested, looking uncomfortable. No. Emma moved to stand between me and Nathan. Mom found Dad's other phone weeks ago. We've known about. She glanced at Olivia, who had tears streaming down her face. About everything. And we hate what Dad did, Lucas added, his small voice steady. But this isn't you, Mom. You're better than this. The USB drive felt like lead in my hand. All my evidence, all my righteous anger, suddenly seemed hollow under my children's clear-eyed judgment. They're right. Nathan's voice was quiet. I'm the one who should face the consequences. Not like this, not with some public spectacle that hurts everyone. Hurts everyone? I finally found my voice. You stole their college funds. You're having a baby with. What? Emma's head whipped toward Olivia. Lucas grabbed his sister's hand. The boardroom erupted in whispers. Olivia stood abruptly, knocking over her water glass. The sound of shattering glass matched the breaking of my resolve. I'm sorry, Olivia whispered, looking not at Nathan but at my children. I didn't know. He told me you knew, that you understood. Understanding requires honesty, Emma said, sounding far older than her 14 years. Something Dad forgot about. Mr. Clayton cleared his throat. Nathan, I believe we need to have a private conversation about your position with the company. I watched my revenge plan dissolve, replaced by something more powerful. My children's dignity in the face of betrayal. They'd chosen the higher ground I'd almost abandoned. The merger documents, Nathan said weakly. They're already are worth nothing compared to our reputation, Mr. Clayton finished. Brooke, thank you for bringing this to our attention, though perhaps not quite as planned. I nodded, gathering my camera bag. Emma and Lucas moved to flank me, their presence both a comfort and a rebuke. We should go home, I said quietly. As we left the boardroom, I heard Olivia's muffled sobs and Nathan's desperate attempts to salvage something. His job, his reputation, his lies. But none of it mattered anymore. My revenge had failed, but something more important had emerged from the wreckage. My children's unwavering moral compass, pointing toward a better way forward. Nathan stood in our driveway 3 days after the gala, loading boxes into his car. Emma watched from her bedroom window while Lucas sat on the front steps, methodically destroying dandelions with a stick. The morning light felt too bright, too exposing for this kind of ending. The Clayton board voted unanimously, Nathan said, closing his trunk. I'm officially unemployed. And unofficially? He flinched at my tone. Olivia's parents are helping us find a place. Until then, I'm staying at the Marriott. The real one this time? Lucas looked up at that, his stick pausing mid-swing. Nathan's jaw tightened. I never meant. To steal our children's college funds? To start a second family while destroying this one? Which part wasn't meant to happen, Nathan? Emma appeared in the doorway, her sketchbook clutched to her chest like armor. Dad? Are you taking any of my drawings? The question hit him like a physical blow. He glanced at the packed car, then back at our daughter. I didn't think. I can come back for. Don't bother. She ripped a page from her book, a family portrait from happier times, and held it out. This is the last one I'll ever draw of you. Nathan reached for the drawing, but Emma let it fall. The paper caught the morning breeze, skittering across the driveway like a wounded thing. Emma, please. You know what's weird? Lucas stood up suddenly. I kept thinking there must have been signs. Something we missed. But there weren't any, were there? You're just really good at lying. My son's words, delivered in his matter-of-fact voice, did what my anger couldn't. Nathan's carefully maintained facade cracked. I love you both, he said. That was never a lie. Love doesn't empty bank accounts, I said quietly. Love doesn't build a life on lies. The money? I can explain. Mr. Clayton already did. I pulled out an envelope. The board is pursuing legal action for financial misconduct, but they're willing to be lenient if you cooperate with the forensic audit. Nathan's face went ash gray. You don't understand. Olivia's pregnancy. The new house. We needed you. Emma's voice cracked. We needed our dad, not some stranger who wore his face and told pretty lies. Lucas moved to stand beside his sister, offering silent support. I watched my children, marveling at their strength, their unflinching honesty in the face of betrayal. The divorce papers are being drawn up, I said. The lawyers will contact you about the audit and custody arrangements. Custody? Nathan laughed bitterly. After what happened at the gala, you think any judge will? We get to choose, Lucas interrupted. Mom already talked to us about it. That's what happens when parents tell their kids the truth. A car pulled up to the curb. Olivia, her pregnancy now visible beneath a flowing dress. She stayed behind the wheel, unable or unwilling to face this scene. Your new family's waiting, Emma said, turning away. You should go. Nathan stood frozen between his packed car and our front door. A man caught between the ruins of one life and the uncertain promise of another. Finally, he bent down and picked up Emma's fallen drawing. I'm sorry, he said, though it wasn't clear who he was apologizing to. I never thought it would end like this. No, I agreed, watching him fold the drawing with trembling hands. You just thought you wouldn't get caught. He got into his car without another word. Olivia's vehicle pulled away first, and Nathan followed, leaving us standing in the debris of his choices. Emma's hand found mine. Lucas pressed against my other side. We stood there, watching until both cars disappeared around the corner. What happens now? Lucas asked. I looked at my children, hurt but unbroken, angry but unbowed. Now we rebuild. Together. Emma squeezed my hand. Without lies. Without lies. I promised, leading them back into our house, which already felt different, lighter somehow, as if truth had its own gravity, pulling us toward a new center. The divorce papers arrived on the same morning as the letter from Olivia's lawyer. I found Emma at the kitchen table, already reading the second document. She'd started checking the mail before me, hungry for news of how our story would end. She's suing him, Emma said, sliding the letter across the table. For fraud and emotional distress. Like mother, like mistress, I murmured, but the old bitterness had faded to something quieter. Lucas bounded in, fresh from soccer practice. Mom, can we hang my new photos in the darkroom? Coach says I've got a good eye. The darkroom had become our shared space, where Lucas learned to develop film and Emma sketched while I worked. The walls now held a growing gallery of our family's new shape. 3 people instead of 4, stronger at the broken places. Speaking of photos, Emma said carefully, Dad's baby shower invitation came. With pictures. My hand stilled on Lucas's camera. And I threw it away. She met my eyes. Some things we don't need to see. The doorbell rang. Jenna arriving for our weekly coffee. These days she brought contracts instead of consolation. My business had expanded since the Clayton Gala. My reputation for capturing uncomfortable truths attracting high-profile clients. You'll never guess who called, Jenna said, settling at the table. Olivia's lawyer. They want to hire you for the court documentation. Emma's head snapped up. Lucas stopped fiddling with his camera. That's... I searched for the right word. Poetic. It's perfect, Emma declared. Make him face his own reflection. The way you made him face ours, Lucas added. I studied my children, Emma's fierce certainty, Lucas's quiet strength. They taught me more about justice than revenge ever could. I'll take the job, I decided. But not for revenge. For what then? Jenna asked. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from Rick. Nathan's trying to access the offshore accounts. Clayton's lawyers are moving to freeze everything. Mom. Emma's voice held a question. I showed them the message. No more secrets, that was our new rule. He's running, Lucas said, understanding immediately. Let him, I replied and meant it. We've got our own path to follow. Jenna raised an eyebrow. And Olivia's case? I'll document it honestly. Every frame, every moment. I touched my camera, thinking of all the ways truth could be captured and preserved. That's not revenge, it's justice. There's a difference. Emma pulled out her sketchbook. A new one filled with drawings of our reformed family. I've been thinking about that difference. Maybe revenge is about looking backward, but justice looks forward. Deep thoughts for breakfast, Lucas teased, but he was nodding. The morning light streamed through our kitchen window, catching the dust motes in its beam. Through my photographer's eye, I saw us as we were. Not broken but reconstituted. Not victims but survivors. I need to respond to Olivia's lawyer, I said, standing. Then we should finish hanging Lucas's photos. And my new sketches? Emma asked. Those too. I smiled. We've got plenty of wall space now. As I headed to my office, I heard Lucas ask Emma about her latest drawing project. Their voices followed me, warm and real and present. No pretense, no perfect family facade. Just truth, with all its sharp edges and unexpected beauty. My camera sat ready on my desk, next to the contract from Olivia's lawyer. I thought about Nathan, scrambling to salvage what he could of his carefully constructed lies. About Olivia, choosing truth over comfort. About my children, who'd shown me that the best revenge wasn't revenge at all. I picked up my pen to sign the contract, ready to document one more chapter of this story. Not for the satisfaction of watching Nathan fall, but for the simple power of letting truth speak through my lens. Sometimes justice was quiet. Sometimes it looked like nothing more than people choosing to face reality one frame at a time.